Welcome everybody to episode 53 of the effing title, and we are back with the actual podcast. No longer a sports podcast. We're back to the normal podcasts. Here we are, and with the introduction of coming back, I have one of my newest friends. He is a scholar of story games. You can sometimes see his face, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can only hear him. Sometimes you hear him and his friends talking about sexual adventures from the medieval times. It is Charles Robin Jr. Charles, is it okay if I just call you Charles?
Yeah. It's so perfectly fine to just call me Charles.
Okay. How was that? Was that good?
Yeah, it was great. You know, I like the part to where we're having sex talks from the medieval times when the reality is just fantasy.
There's times when I'll be doing something. I have you guys on. I'll have you on in the background playing like Force. The Force. Is it the Force Awakens? No, it's not the Force Awakens.
No,
God,
that's the movie. The one I just finished was Fallen Order.
Fallen Order. There we go. Well, I'll have you, and I'll raise the volume on it, and suddenly I raise the volume, and it's like, well, back in 19th century Germany, sexual acts were actually done. Hentai was actually made by a nun in, the Russian province of. You know what I'm saying? They're like. I've missed a lot from when I first came in and you guys saying like, oh yeah, lightsabers are made like this, to now hentai in German times. But Charles, why don't you tell the good people a little bit about yourself instead of me telling them?
Hey, so I'm Charles Robin Jr. Usually I stream story-oriented games, hero-based shooters, and Souls-like games. Usually that comes with Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2. Coming up next, I'm actually going to be playing Bloodborne as my new story weekend. I'm actually going to make it a weekend. I'm going to make it from Friday to Sunday.
Ooh.
But other than that, I just play with my friends. I got your boy Husky here that I play Apex with. Got other people that I play with in our friend circle. But other than that, that's kind of it for right now.
All right. Well, for this week, as I just said at the beginning, we are back to our normal podcast. This is no longer just doing a week in, week out look at the NFL. So we're back to having normal topics this week. So this for today's section, Charles's topics that he has chosen are comics, conventions, and the ever-going thread that was. I don't know if I told you this, Charles, or not. This last topic was actually thought of by the wifey. This was thought of by Dana.
Oh,
my life as and that has been an ongoing section ever since she said about I should start doing that. So, but let's start it off. Comics.
Delicious.
Comics, yes,
love it.
The topic that I have had on here so many fucking times, and every time it just goes for I think. Because I started doing it so I could break down into chapters, and there was one chapter where it was like a 20-minute segment. I'm like, cool, 20-minute segment, cool. And then it was like an hour and a half segment, and I looked, and that was the comic segment. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Oh man, but yeah, no, comics is. I got into comics not late, but not early. Like I got into comics back when I was like 8th grade in middle school.
Okay.
So the first comic I ever read, Spider-Man #1, of course. What was it? It was a free comic day at the school. They handed us all these comics. I got Spider-Man #1, and I was like, "Yo, Spider-Man's fucking dope. This is dope. I want to know more about this guy because it's it's this poor kid, no parents, lives with his aunt and uncle, and he gets spider powers. But then it's just like, oh, what do I do with these things? Oh, cool. I'm gonna make a suit. I'm gonna make a one of a kind web shooter that shoots out." Not organic. Well, that's the craziest thing. It's an organic, but also synthetic webbing. That's even stronger than a normal spider's web. So it's mind-boggling to see him do stuff like this.
I could also see as of course, if you got the one and as a high school, because 8th grade, early high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're reading about a high schooler. It's it kind of fully throws you in where if it's if you're a high schooler and the first thing you read is about the Incredible Hulk, it's like, I don't have a PhD, I don't get big and green when I get mad, so that's interesting. That's actually the very first thing I was going to ask was when did you get into comics?
Yeah. So that's actually a really good way of putting it, because He was the kind of the odd man out of high school. The guy who always get picked on and everything. And I could totally relate to that because I wasn't the most popular. Granted, everyone knew me because I was just like the nice guy, but people tease me because I was either too nice or because I would be too much into books. So I totally like related to Peter Parker like instantly, which is why like I just kept reading the comics.
Which is why I
And
said,
so,
fuck those guys. I'm not into books anymore. I'm into comic books.
well, no, I still read books too, but comic books are just
Yeah.
livelier. And I think that's the real thing that got me into comics because like reading a book, you get into it, but you would like to sometimes not use your imagination to look at some of the stuff. But then with comics, you're looking at every fight scene that goes on or every like thing of drama that goes on with the comics. And for the love of God, Spider-Man has so much fucking
Oh yeah,
drama.
I mean, like I've
So much drama.
the way that I've worded it in the past is that I appreciate the writers who can spend a full page and a half describing why the color of my mug being brown represents blah blah blah. I'd rather
Right,
just see
yeah.
a picture of my fucking mug being brown in my book. Like, I
Right.
would rather just
Well,
visually see it. Like, but I can appreciate the people that can literally, put like the time and effort into, explaining every minute detail. Personally, myself, I can't fucking deal with that shit. Let me just see a picture of it. There, cool. It's a brown mug.
right, yeah.
You know.
But other than that, like so it came from the mainline series.
Mhm.
It would come off with some spin-offs and everything. And then it went from 616, which is the main universe, to the Ultimate series. And the Ultimate series, that Spider-Man, that Peter Parker was the same, but also just a little bit different. It was a little bit more high school drama than
Mhm.
in the main series. To the point to where like a lot of times you were like, oh, who's he gonna date this week? Or, oh, is he gonna make the basketball team? Is he, gonna beat up the bully this time? Or, is he gonna get in trouble? Because like in the original series, Spider-Man always, the good guy, good kid, always does his homework on times. In the Ultimate series, this man would sneak out the house half the time, and I'm like, yo, this is
Yo,
like vastly different.
this ain't my daddy's Peter Parker. Like, geez, what is
Yeah,
this?
exactly. Yeah. And so so the Ultimate series comes out, and I bull rush through all of that. It's
Mhm.
it's such a good series, and of course, 616 picks back up. You read that, and you read about all the stuff that goes on within Spider-Man and his mythos and everything. You're just like, dude, there's so much shit that makes sense, but then doesn't make sense because there's the good of Spider-Man, which is like most of it, and then there's the bad about Spider-Man.
Hmm. I mean, like when he when
And
he when he kills. Spoiler alert: when he kills his girlfriend because he shoots her up full of radioactive semen.
we don't. It that was the one thing to where I was glad that was part of the spinoff. It was a one-off that
Oh, yeah,
just never got,
I just fucking love it because it's like, it's literally one of those things where like you could tell that like it's just a bunch of dudes in a fucking room. Like, what the fuck do we do now? And it's like, what if he kills his girlfriend? Well, how is he gonna kill his girlfriend? How can we do that and make it like a very tragic thing? I don't know. Maybe his jizz is radioactive. Oh my god, his jizz is radioactive. It's just like it's such a stupid fucking thing that like you can tell a bunch of dudes thought of in like a room getting either fucking drunk or high.
yeah.
Um
Well, honestly, there's that one, and then there's also another one that I think that was mainline. That
mhm.
might have been mainline. It may have been a spinoff to where Peter Parker was giving his aunt a blood transfusion, and since his blood is radioactive, it got her sick.
Mm, shit. All right. I mean, I like the radioactive semen one better just because it's funnier.
Yeah, no, but the things with Spider-Man, so were like the highs are so
Hmm.
high and the lows are like real low. Like the highs, him meeting Gwen Stacy, like that whole thing was just a
Hmm.
beautiful relationship. And then that low wasn't like a low of, oh, this is such badly written and everything, but no, it was like a really good written, like tragic story to where at the end, she finds out that he's Spider-Man, but then at the same time, she dies because Green Goblin throws her off the bridge.
True. The one that I am I am glad they did it because, like, you saw the trailers, you saw it in the trailers to an extent, if I remember correctly, and it was the Amazing Spider-Man #2 when they killed Gwen in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of
Yeah.
glad that they did fully go through with it because they showed a lot of it and they just kind of hinted, kind of like, "Hey, we might do this," and you're kind of sitting there like, "Fuck you guys, you're not gonna do it." You know, fucking no one does that shit. You know, like you're not gonna do this. You know, and then you're sitting there in the theater and you see it going on. It's like, yeah, okay, they're not gonna do it. And then suddenly you hear the whoosh, like the whoosh of her neck snap at the bottom, and you're like, wait. Like I remember, I think I actually went to the theater for that one. The whole fucking place went silent at that point.
Yeah.
Like it's
I have so many problems with that movie specifically, but that part of the movie I think was the best part because they actually did it right.
mm.
Also, Emma Stone's a great Gwen Stacy,
Oh,
so
100%.
you can't really go wrong with
I
that.
was a huge fan of Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I actually enjoyed his iteration of Spider-Man more than the others, personally.
Well, with me, it was more I like Tobey Maguire because
Mhm.
he did it first, of course.
Yeah, he's the OG.
I liked Andrew Garfield in the first one. I liked him in the second one. I just wish the people around him was better in the
Mhm.
second one. And then, of course, you have Tom Holland, which I think he does phenomenal. But it's only because he looks like a young Peter Parker, and he's the age to where he
Mhm.
starts up and everything. And also, he has that also like awkward charisma that Peter has as well.
I just I and this is part of the reason why I'm not a huge MCU fan. Is
Yeah.
I hate the forced jokiness with everything they do. So them calling it the
Mm.
Peter Tingle,
Okay. Yeah. I understand that.
like
Yeah.
the fact that they have yet to actually mention Uncle Ben other than the BP on his fucking bag, and the fact that
Well,
his entire story arc is I want to be Iron Man and not, with great power comes great responsibility. I mean, has he even said that in the MCU yet?
I think he has, but I think the reason why they're doing that is because the Spider-Man story has happened so many times.
I know,
And
but
sometimes people are getting like tired of it. Honestly, it's dumb because at the same time, dude, if you're gonna keep, rebooting it, then
what
of
is
course it's gonna get annoying. I mean,
and
it's the
it's
thing.
and the thing for me is that, like, of course, it's they've done it so many times. It's the same thing with Batman, right? They've done the Batman, killing of the Waynes how many fucking times now? The
Like
the
7.
thing the thing that people need to do, and it's the thing that I don't think is done enough, is how can they make it a very original? You know what I mean? Like, how can they make it their own
Yeah.
thing? Like, if you look at, like, for instance, I know a lot of people aren't a huge fan of Zack Snyder's Batman vs Superman or any of the movies that he does. The way that he did the beginning with the Wayne death in Batman vs Superman is fucking beautiful and adds a whole new dimension to the entire thing. And it's just very
Right.
subtle
Yeah.
things. It's Thomas Wayne clenching a fist and going to go punch the mugger. It's the fact that
Mm.
Martha tries to fight back and he puts it under the necklace so that when he shoots it, the necklace explodes in that beautiful fucking slow motion scene that we have. Just those two little things changes that entire thing so much, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's the thing that where when it comes, this is my whole thing sometimes when it comes to the MCU movies and the comics because the comics kind of influence the MCU, but at the same time they're taking certain things from certain comics and trying to jam it all into one thing. Like you have the Spider-Man in the Spider-Man MCU, he looks like he's from 616. But the
Mm.
Nick Fury, you have him, he's like from the Ultimates. The Captain America, he's from 616. Iron Man, he's from 616. But like other characters, they just look like they're from the Ultimates, and it's just like they're like vastly different characters, vastly different stories, and you're trying to put them into one cohesive story. It's gonna get a little bit blurred, but I
Yeah.
think the way they world build in the MCU is the reason why I really like those movies.
Okay.
It's the reason why I'm like, oh wow, they really like connect everything. Like everything has like an actual connection that not only is connecting from the comics, but also connecting from like just the lore from the comics itself, not like from individual comics.
See, I like the fact that in the Tobey Maguire movies and in the Amazing Spider-Man, the villains are kind of, it feels like they're very organic, right, to Spider-Man. However, in the MCU version, they're both organic to Iron Man, but not to Spider-Man.
The only one that's organic to Spider-Man is the Vulture.
Well, I mean, even that one isn't. I mean, he's upset because Tony took his, took away the rights to collect all the fucking alien stuff. And that's the only reason why he becomes Vulture.
Right, yeah. Well, I think that definitely, but then once you actually read the comics for Vulture and see the motivation of Vulture in the original comics, it's kind of the same as well, but it's just not Tony though. It's another corporate head that, screws him over. Okay. I think the only thing is, I think in the MCU, like Stark is just like such a big corporate head. Just like dominates everything in the MCU.
And I get it. It's just that it's one of those things where, in my opinion, Spider-Man is as big, if not bigger, than the Iron Man title.
Oh yeah,
so there's no need to shoehorn the Iron Man stuff into it as much as they have.
Well, yeah, and then you have other corporations from Marvel that you could have just used, but the other thing is with the shows, they've just like
this is the other thing.
Just like put up everything.
If I told you that the MCU was going to do Spider-Man, okay, right, how long do you think it would take for them to bring in Oscorp, or even mention any of that stuff?
It should have been like day one.
And it's movie 3, and we're still not going to get it from the way that it looks anyway. Because dear God, no one knows what the fuck it looks like. What's going on, other than all of the hundreds of thousands of rumors.
I think it's to make sure that Holland doesn't spoil anything again, like he does every other movie.
I agree. My thing is just like, okay, in Crisis on Infinite Earths, right? CW does that as a TV series, officially announcing that they're crossing everything over. The multiverse exists. We're fully acknowledging it. The last however long live action of DC has existed is now intertwined. And how are we going to fully show this? Well, we're going to show, a guy from, the Tim Burton Batman. We're going to show Titans. We're going to show Burt Reynolds. God, I can't think of his name. They're going to show Robin from the 66 Batman. They're going to show the Birds of Prey TV show. They're going to show Smallville. And then what do they do on top of all that? They just, Ezra Miller's Flash. And then what do they announce later on, like a year later? Oh, by the way, the Flash movie is going to be Flashpoint, but we're changing the Flashpoint story. And we're going to have Michael Keaton's Batman in it. We're going to have Ben Affleck's Batman in it. And we're going to have all sorts of other random shit going on. And we're intertwining everything. Ever since that came out, all you hear now from this Spider-Man movie is that they're doing the Spider-Verse.
Right, with the Tobey Maguire.
Getting Tobey Maguire, getting this guy, getting in Alfred Morena, is that his name? The guy that played Doc Ock. They're getting they're getting in this guy who played this one guy. They're getting Jamie Foxx in as Electro. They're doing this, they're doing that, they're doing this. And it's just sitting there and it's like, how does any of this shit equate to the fact that the world knows that he's Spider-Man now, which is what we just had happen?
So the only thing I can think of is the actual storyline from after Civil War, when everyone knows that Peter Parker's Spider-Man, to where he goes to Doctor Strange because of a thing that happens. So after Civil War ends, Kingpin orders Spider-Man to be killed by Bullseye.
Okay.
Spider-Man, of course, being Spider-Man, he dodges the bullet, but it hits Aunt May.
Oh, okay.
So Aunt May dies. And so he goes over to Doctor Strange and sees if he can get her soul back to basically, get her back.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to do that, he calls him Mephisto, which is like the devil of that universe, to get her soul back. And this is when I start to get angry when it comes to the writers of Spider-Man, because that equates to One More Day and the idiocy of breaking him and Mary Jane apart, because that's basically what Mephisto wants. He wants Mary Jane and Peter Parker's marriage as a sacrifice.
Okay.
Granted, I don't know how they're going to do that in the MCU, but I know for a fact Doctor Strange is supposed to be in that movie. And if Doctor Strange is in that movie, with the stuff that I'm seeing going on in WandaVision right now, yeah, it's going to be multiverse, but it's only because of Wanda and of Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
And it actually makes sense because they've actually the spoilers to WandaVision, the latest episodes that came out, once again, spoilers, they actually bring in Quicksilver back, but it's the X-Men Quicksilver. So it's like, oh, so you've already shown that you can, do multiverse stuff, but maybe it's, I'm not sure if it's actual multiverse or if it's just like reality bending. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
See, I like.
But I totally get what you're talking about, because like it's like, oh, well, we see that they're doing Flashpoint. Maybe we should do something multiverse in the MCU as well. I totally see that also. Like they're taking in some of the things from what DC's trying to do right now.
Well, the other thing as well that I was going to bring up is just the fact of like, because like I always think of like, if you're going to do a trilogy, you fully plan that shit out, right? Like I had a plan at one point of how they could do Batman, right, with Ben Affleck. I was like, I have a great idea for how you can do it, and it's a way to kind of it fully involves the Batman universe, right? So the first movie is kind of it's Batman thinking like there's a crime going on and Batman's trying to have to figure that shit out, right? And as he's figuring it out, he then realizes like, oh shit, this relates to something that's happened in the past. And then that's when we get a younger actor, kind of what Pattinson would be, right? To play the role of Batman. But this is just younger Batman at this point. And it's him going over Hush, the Hush story arc, right?
Right, yeah.
And then it comes back.
Young Batman did have to deal with Hush. I forgot about that.
So then you come back to modern day, right? And now modern day happens. And it's like you end the movie there with kind of the little inflection of like, hey, Red Hood exists. Just kind of tease it out there, right? And then you have it set up so Red Hood is kind of teasing Batman at this point. And this is where you manipulate it a little bit just to kind of get a second movie into it. But the second movie is Death in the Family.
Right, yeah.
And then the third movie is Under the Red Hood. So you have a full trilogy that can tell, I mean, like, you have Catwoman, you have Two-Face, you have Poison Ivy, you have Harley Quinn, Superman, Green Arrow, Hush, Two-Face, Joker, Red Hood, like, you get all of these actors, you get all of these characters in there that are main primary Batman ones. A lot of them haven't seen big name stardom yet, and it's a story that like fully exists through Nightwing as well, like, so that was my thinking, right? So when I see the Spider-Man ones, I'm like, okay, so the first one I was like, that's a weird fucking, okay, whatever. Then the second one happens and I'm like, this is still just as weird to me. I don't like the MCU, but I'm like, okay, third one, I was like, it kind of Kingpin, Daredevil, bring them back from the from HBO, from Netflix, bring them in, send it. Right? I was like, that's a beautiful, easy way to do a third movie. And it's bringing those characters into the limelight, so now you can use them in the main properties.
I think their whole thing is, I think, it's really Disney. It's really the way they're picking from certain shows, picking from certain things. Like, the reason why the Hulu shows are still canon is because Disney owns Hulu as well. So it's easy. So the whole thing to where the things with those two Spider-Man movies was the villains were the thing that I think took me over the edge, because Vulture, of course, is the first Spider-Man movie. Vulture's the first Spider-Man villain. And then you get to the second one, it's Mysterio. Mysterio is also one of the early villains that Spider-Man has to fight. So it made sense in that part, but from what you're talking about, that also makes perfect sense as well, on why you weren't really like it didn't seem cohesive to you.
It's just like it would be like for me It'd be like imagine making a Batman movie and one of the very first villains is Lex Luthor. Right, like that's how I saw it. Like, of course, I used to watch the old school animated movie or animated TV show. Right, I used to watch that shit all the time.
Right. Right.
So I know these characters. I know who they are. I've seen them before. I know for a fact that Iron Man didn't exist in any one of these fucking episodes. So I know that they're all Spider-Man villains. So as soon as they're like, oh yeah, I hate Iron Man. I hate Iron Man. Oh, there's a Spider-Man dude. Yeah, whatever. I hate Iron Man. Oh well, you like Iron Man? Well, fuck you too then. Like that sort of thing. And then I'm like, okay, now pump the brakes. Like, that's kind of like I said. That's kind of one of the reasons why I like the Amazing Spider-Man is because the very first one was the Lizard, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there
This is
like,
also one of the early villains as
and I'm
well.
sitting there like I wanted this dude in the Tobey Maguire one, so I was like, I fucking am like, yes, let's go. And then they get Reese Ifris, I think his name is, the actor, and I'm like, beautiful, this works. And I thought the first movie was a very good movie. I thought.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I like the first one a lot better
As
than
soon as
anything. Like
as soon as they announced
the
this,
new suit and everything was great. It was great.
as soon as they announced the second one, and they're like, we have Rhino, we have Electro, we
Oh
have
my god.
Green Goblin. I'm sitting there like, okay, wait a minute. Two villains. I've always been a huge fan of two villains. You have the main villain, you have a kind of side villain, right? Always
Mm-hmm.
been a fan of that. They're like, okay, so we get all these. I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna wait. Let's wait and see what everything looks like. I see Green Goblin. I'm like, it doesn't look normal,
Good. No.
but it looks interesting. It's different. I'll give it a pass for right now. Then I see
That and it's not
that.
even Green Goblin. It's New Goblin.
Yeah. So then I see Electro, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool looking. I'm gonna give this a pass. And then I see Rhino, and I'm just like, okay, time the fuck out. Like, I've always been a fan of Rhino as a character. Shocking, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I see that, and I'm like, no, time the fuck out. This does not work for Husky. The thing that I didn't like the fact that they were doing that, but you could tell that they were obviously trying to set up the Sinister Six movie.
Yeah, but they were doing it way too quickly.
Exactly, and you could tell like that was their whole focus with just shoehorning all of them in, and then even shoehorning that one scene where they're like walking through, and you see like the Venom fucking thing in the background. You see the wings of Vulture and the Doc Ock arms and everything. Like you can see it, and it's like, okay, you guys aren't even fucking worrying about this movie. You guys are trying to set up a fucking future thing. Great.
Right.
I actually really liked Electro in that movie. I thought it was different. I thought it was a new take,
Fine.
and
Yeah, he was fine.
I loved the fact of how they manipulated the music with him,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that was a really kind of cool thing. But like those characters, though, they were Spider-Man based. Like in the movies, like they hated Spider-Man because of something stupid that Spider-Man had done. It wasn't like they
Right.
they didn't like Spider-Man because of something Iron Man had done.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that was my big thing. The other thing as well, just throwing this out there, when everybody was getting all teary eyed in theaters because what was this? What was it that he said?
Oh, I don't feel too good.
I don't feel too good, Mr. Stark. Yeah, yeah. Did you not feel good before the movie when they announced that Spider-Man 2 was coming out in theaters? Like, just general, just throwing it out there for old movie theaters. If you're gonna kill characters, don't announce that they're getting a sequel before you kill them.
Dude, once again, that's all Disney mismanagement right there. It's
Like,
all Marvel Studios mismanagement.
like
When it comes to stuff like that, I totally get that.
like, because that was my thing. Is like they did that, and then it's and then I'm like literally hearing like people being like, I cried when Spider-Man said that. I'm like, go fuck yourself. They literally announced that he's getting a sequel. Shut the fuck up.
That and when it comes to certain character deaths in movies, you're just like, no, that's not even real. Shut up. I read comic books. They're coming back.
Right. Well, that's the thing, right? Like Superman died. Superman died. I'm like, okay, Superman died. It was a fucking cool death. They did the Doomsday arc. Death of Superman. Kind of, they kind of hit it in a different way, and I was like, it was kind of cool. I know this motherfucker's coming back to life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, you don't gotta tell me he's not. I know he is.
Yeah.
But then they start showing all of this is back when Justice League was still not shit. They didn't show him in anything.
Well, that's because, dude, come on. They had to be like, come on,
Well, that's the
yeah.
thing, right? Like, but that was my thing though. Is it's like I'm sitting there like he's back, right? Like he's gonna be in the movie, right? Like they're not like. But like that's what I'm saying. Though, is like as a marketing media standpoint, that's what you need to do. If you're gonna kill off a character, you don't announce they're getting a sequel or anything. They killed off Superman, and then they never showed that motherfucker until the movie came out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like,
Once again, it's all the totally thing with the management. Like didn't he manage his movies based on, hey, we want to show everyone the movies that are coming out because it's going to get everyone hyped. But it's like, yo, maybe you should chill that out a bit until, like, the first movie's done, or until, like, it's a little bit longer. Like, we can't just announce all these movies just right off the bat. Like, take your time with it.
exactly. I mean, they announced that it's like this is our 10-year run of movies that we're gonna have, and they've changed like what I mean. We never did get the Inhumans movie.
Thank God. Thank God for that. You know what? If you want to talk about something bad that Marvel's done, is the Inhumans. Like, in the comics, it was okay. You know why? Because it was a whole different new thing, and everyone was like, oh, cool. But then as you start to go on, you were just like, oh my God, they're just trying to replace the mutants. Fuck off.
Well,
On.
there was one that I've seen recently, and it showed the Eternals, and it just looks like a bunch of
Oh.
Power Rangers, and I'm sitting there like, oh.
Well, with the Eternals, that's something that I haven't even really read that much about.
See,
So,
see, my thing is like I'm a DC fan,
yeah, I know.
straight up.
Trust me.
I read enough and learn enough about Marvel, other than the little bit that I already knew beforehand, so that I can make arguments if needed. The Eternals, just the entire thing sounds stupid.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm not gonna bull you. It does sound stupid. That's why I'm not excited about the Eternals. I'm just like,
it's one of those things. Like me and Xander talk about it quite a bit because Xander is he's a fan of both sides, more Marvel, a little bit more Marvel than anything. But we're still a fan of both sides. We talk about this stuff every now and then. And I was talking about it. I said to him, I was like, watch, within the next 2 to 3 years, they're going to announce that Robert Downey Jr. back. They're going to announce that Chris Evans is back. They're going to announce that Scarlett Johansson's back. They're going to start announcing that some of these major names that they have killed off will be back. And he's like, I don't think so. I was like, watch. I was like, this next series or this next arc of movies is going to tank, in my opinion. Because people are starting to see the normal, usual shit that Marvel does, right? The MCU does, and it's getting a little bit stale. WandaVision has kind of changed that up a little bit from what I've heard. WandaVision is kind of a little bit of a fresher breath air to the entire thing.
Yeah.
But it hasn't even been a year, and they already announced that Chris Evans is back for something.
They actually disproved that.
Oh, have they now? Okay.
There was just rumors that he hasn't signed anything.
I'm saying right now, man, 2 to 3 years.
The only reason he would come back is because, one, he's not actually dead. He's just old now. The only thing he would do is he would just come back to talk to the new Captain America, I'm guessing, for like an episode or two.
It may be the side of me where I just don't like the MCU. I like Marvel. I don't like the MCU. I've made that very clear in the past. I do not like what Disney has done with Marvel. But I just feel like that when you look at the crop of movies that is coming down the line for Marvel, from what I've heard from people, there's no excitement.
Oh, well, yeah. The one thing I was very excited about was Black Panther 2 because well, actually, most because I didn't know what villain they would pull from because they killed 2 major villains in one movie. I was like, oh my God, they put Claw in the movie. Well, this is incredible. This is amazing. Dead. I'm like, oh, okay. And then you get to Killmonger, and I was like, yo, Killmonger's crazy. He's amazing.
Killmonger, it was like, Killmonger's was like crazy, amazing, awesome. PS2, like, button smashing fight scene, and then like kind of like, okay, now we're starting to see now he's dead. Shit. Yeah. I mean,
So now I'm just like, what would Black Panther do? But now, unfortunately, now that Chadwick passed away, it'll probably be the Shuri stuff, which I'm not too mad about because the Shuri stuff actually in the comics is pretty good themselves.
so
It's just sad to see that Black Panther go away like that.
I have an I've talked about this with Xander. I think I have an idea for what they might do.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't know who owns the right to it because at one point I know that Disney did not own the rights to it, but Namor.
They own the rights to Namor.
Okay, so Namor. They're gonna set it up as something happens and Chadwick's character dies. That's how they're gonna open the whole thing up, in my
I think I
opinion.
know what you're getting at. Are you
Namor.
doing the
Mm-hmm.
Atlantis Wakanda War?
Yep, they're gonna set that up.
Mm.
But so they're gonna set it up so there's gonna be basically an internal war even in Wakanda because it's who's gonna be leading, who's the leader now, and they're gonna set it up between Shuri, M'Baku. Am I saying that right?
I believe so.
The big ass motherfucker there. I can't think of his name now. He was in what was the fuck? Was it Us?
Is Denzel something? Denzel Ward maybe. Let me
Was that
actually
the
look it
name
up
of the
real
movie?
quick.
Was it Us? The fucking horror movie that he was
This
in?
was up. Yeah, the one that Keen Peele did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in that. Fucking great. I think he's a phenomenal young actor.
I believe his name is Duke Winston. Let me look it up
Yes,
real quick.
yes, it is. It's Duke Winston. Yes, or at least I know there's a Winston
Oh,
part of it.
Winston Duke.
There we go.
I got it.
Flipped. I think that they're gonna do that, but then also I think there's a chance they bring back Michael B. Jordan because of the blip, and that's they're gonna.
See,
that's their way of.
He died before the blip, so I don't think it would count.
I don't think it will either, but I think that they're gonna pull some stupid oh, that's not how time travel works bullshit to make it work because it's a big name and it's a big name, it's a big property. So, like I said, I think that that's a part 2 option, but I think that that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna do Namor coming to Wakanda to take Wakanda. This is mine now. And then the internal war to see who will lead Wakanda to fight against.
That sounds about right. I don't know if the Eternal War will happen, only because the way that they've done with M'Baku in just Civil War and also Endgame, he seems more of a ally more than he would try to interrupt the royal thing.
Well, and that's
but at the same time, it could happen. So I'm not going to throw it past them as well.
The only reason why I say that is because it adds another element to it, and also because if I remember correctly, didn't he at one point try to get the throne?
Yeah, but you saw that only in the first movie.
Exactly, but still, that's still something that happened that we can draw back from. So even though they can be like, no, she is the next in line, he can be like, well, I was the last one to fucking fight him. So so I challenge for the throne, and they could even do that. They could be like, I challenge for the throne, and have them about to fight, and then Namor shows up, right there, boom, and interrupts the fight. But no, that's because, like you said, they killed off 2 of the main fucking villains, and I don't, especially in superhero movies, I don't understand the reasoning behind it at points. You know what I mean?
Well, Spider-Man 2 did it really well, and I think that's the only thing I can think of.
Because my thing is, because I think to Birds of Prey. Right, they killed off Black Mask, and they killed off fucking Victor Zsasz too, technically. But Black Mask is a main fucking name. Now the good thing is though, with that is the fact that the one line of Alfred saying we've been doing this for 20 years now or something like that. That at least gives you leeway, so you could bring him back in flashbacks or that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah.
But it's one of those things, and the big name villains. Yes, you need to put them down. You need to put them away. That sort of thing. But there's only a few characters that do that sort of stuff, right? So it's weird when they kill major villains.
I totally agree with that. Totally agree with
Now
that.
some of them I think it is necessary, and I will always go to General Zod.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think that
totally agree with that as well.
I think that the people that get upset and say that's not my Superman, one, the Christopher Reeve Superman actually threw Zod down a fucking hole into the Phantom
Right.
Zone in his movie back in the 19 whatevers there. But two, the thing that people always seem to forget with the most recent Superman, the Man of Steel movie, is that's his origin. He doesn't have that code yet. He's still trying to figure out who the fuck he is. So
Right.
you
Yeah.
see, like, and I've talked about it before as like the whole joke thing, right? Like I hate the forced jokes from Marvel, and I'm okay with the subtle jokes that DC does. And I always go to the Man of Steel scene. Imagine Superman snaps Zod's neck, looks at Lois, and goes, "You want to go get Taco Bell?"
What?
I contribute that to the same thing as Iron Man falling out of the sky, and the first thing him doing is not like, "Hey, did we win?" It's, "Hey, do you guys want to go get shawarma? I saw a shawarma place."
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's my thing. Is it's like it's the same level. It's a forced joke. It doesn't need to be there. So like I always go back to that. But anyways, you know, like so the time to killing villains, I think is you need to do it in the right way. And yes, I don't agree with them killing off both Killmonger and Claw, especially when you have the actor who did a phenomenal role in both roles in both movies.
Yeah, Andy Serkis did a really good job as Claw. Literally, when they told me that was going to be Claw, I was like, dude, that's such a good pull.
I was like, when it first happened, I was kind of like, I'm not 100% sure on Claw just because I wasn't, you know, in DC. I mean, Marvel, so I was trying to figure that shit out.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I saw the movie and I saw him, I was like, okay. Yeah, he did a fucking cool job with that. And then when I heard that he was back for Black Panther, I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, can we just talk about that real quick with Age of Ultron? Captain America at one point tries to choke a robot.
Listen, we don't talk about Age of Ultron, okay? We don't talk about that movie. All right.
No, I mean we still talk about Suicide Squad, so I mean I'm still talking about Age of Ultron, all right? Like,
oh my gosh. Listen,
our dude tried to choke out a robot.
Listen, he's not smart, okay? The super soldier serum just got him stronger. It didn't make him smarter.
I remember seeing that, like, because I don't think I went to the theaters to watch it, so I remember seeing it on like a TV, and I think I may have turned the TV off. And I was like, turned it off. I'm like, nope, like I'm good. I'm done at this point. You know.
Oh boy.
And also the other one as well was that, like, I loved Quicksilver. I love Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Oh, dude, seeing him get done like that,
bro,
in
like
Age of Ultron.
I'm sitting there, and I was like, this dude, like this character's cool. I like it. I like him. I like what they're doing. And then seeing him push fucking Hawkeye out of the way, you know, I'm sitting there like, just fucking kill Hawkeye. Give us this guy. Fuck the bow and arrow, dude. Give me Quicksilver. Like,
Oh man, yeah, no. I think
the little humans. What are the children? Yes, that's what they are. It's like I'm sitting there like, bro, this is a completely different movie than what the trailer showed. Like, I applauded the trailers for that movie so fucking much because I was like, this is fucking dark, you know. And who the hell did they have voicing Ultron?
It's I'm gonna look it up and then it's gonna be like, I know who it is.
But him doing the like nursery rhymes in the trailers was terrifying. Like, they made the trailers look terrifying. They made the trailers look like DC. Like, not DC. I keep saying DC. They made the trailers look like Marvel was going dark. And I'm sitting there like, this is.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, they going dark. Let's do this. And then then we get in the movie and he's talking about children, you know, and it's children. Yes, that's what they're called. You know, and we got a fucking choking out of a robot, and I'm sitting there like, oh no.
So the person who votes Ultron was James Spader. James Spader is such a good actor, dude. Such a good actor. Him in Blacklist is really good too. But yeah, no, They could have done that better. Granted, I'm glad the way they introduced Ultron though, and Ultron was really cool seeing him introduced like that.
I think if because they introduced him in a very creepy way, and in the from what I know is that he is one of the strongest villains, correct? In Marvel.
Yeah, villain that turns into a hero. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like they really kind of. I feel like they did him dirty.
I don't know because in Endgame they definitely did him dirty, but in Civil War they really made him a little bit darker, and I can tell you why. Because there's the scene with Scarlet Witch, and she's confined to the area, and he's just standing there silhouetted, and you were thinking that he's asleep. No, he's still awake. He's still aware of everything, and it's creepy seeing him like that. And then also you see how he's tried to go for Falcon. And he didn't care about who was in the way or anything. He just shot straight at him, not thinking that Falcon could possibly, move out the way. And then he'd actually hit Rhodey, which gave him that severe injury. I see how they could probably make Marvel go dark. I just think the light toneness of a lot of the directors that they have is really conflicting with them sometimes.
My thing is that that's not what they do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
For instance, there was a thing at one point that said that Doctor Strange 2 was going to be a horror movie.
Right, the multiverse one.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, they immediately responded back to that and said it's not going to be a horror movie. That's stupid to think any of our movies would be a horror movie. And then basically said yeah, no, that's not happening. It's going to be like a normal MCU movie. It's going to have some horror scary elements. And by horror scary elements, I'm assuming it's the thing of Wanda, spoilers for everyone out there, Wanda looking back and seeing Vision and then seeing him dead and then seeing him as normal Vision again. That sort of horror, which wasn't really that horror. It was just kind of oh, so she is just puppeting around a dead robot husband.
Now, you would think that, but once again, if you watch WandaVision, you're not sure. You're not sure yet.
I want to know. Okay, this is my big question. Are these fake children, or did she fuck a dead robot and have children with the dead robot?
No. And here's the thing: the two kids from the show, they're actually in the comics, and they're real. They're real kids. I forget the one guy's name. I think his name is Speed or something. But it's Tommy and Billy. Tommy is Wiccan, who is almost like Scarlet Witch himself.
Okay.
And he has almost the same powers. I was
gonna say, doesn't one of them have the same basically they just got lazy with it? It's yeah, this one has her powers and this one has his powers.
Yeah, it has Wanda's powers or Quicksilver's powers. Yeah,
that's something.
But it's interesting because they came from Wanda's whole House of M thing, which, in my opinion, is one of the best Marvel comics that they've ever written.
Okay.
All time. Because it's Wanda rewrites all of Marvel Universe to make it to her perfect paradise. But then the heroes start to remember their past lives.
Oh, shit.
And so then they all team up to try to be hey, because at first they think it's Magneto. Because, you see House of M, you're thinking, oh, shit, it's House of Magneto. No, it's House of Maximoff.
Makes sense. No.
So it's all Wanda's doing.
I read one. So when I got into comics, it was actually very recently. It was after college. I was looking around and I was I kind of want to get into comic books. I was I like the movies. I think these are kind of cool. I was let me see what I can see. And I found a Volume 1 New 52 hardcover Aquaman.
Okay.
And I was I want to buy that. And it was $30. And I was Jesus Christ, $30 for a comic book? Now I've paid I think the most I've paid now for one is $121. So,
Jeez, which one are you getting? You getting like
This,
a special edition
yeah.
one?
So I don't buy the
Okay,
single issue. I
okay,
buy the collector ones. So
okay,
that
okay.
one
Well,
was
that makes sense. Yeah.
the 121 was a Doom Patrol entire story arc, like 10-pound book.
Oh my goodness,
hmm
Doom Patrol is such a good comic.
But yeah, so I bought the Aquaman one and I read it and I was like, this is fucking cool. So I started buying the sequels of it because there was a couple of them out before I started, fully getting into it. And I was like, I want to be fair. I want to buy a Marvel one. I was like, which Marvel character do I like? Well, the Hulk's kind of cool. So I looked at the Hulk.
Oh,
I found a volume one of the Hulk. I bought it. I opened it up. I started reading it, and it was all like oil painting the way it looked, and I'm sitting there like, this looks like shit. And then I start reading, and it's like in the middle of a fucking story arc. And I look at it, and it says Volume 1. And I read online, it's like, great beginning to this story. And I'm like, the fuck is going on here? And I made it like 4 pages in. I was like, I can't do this shit. And then, like, at that point, that's kind of another reason why I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to start buying DC ones. Like,
here's the terrible thing about that. You've come into contact to the bad writers of
mhm.
Marvel because they usually do bad Hulk storylines, bad Miss Marvel storylines. Like that's the whole reason why Miss Marvel in the MCU movies is terrible because of the new Marvel writers.
Okay.
The old Miss Marvel back when she was called Miss Marvel, not Captain Marvel,
Hmm.
was so cool.
I mean,
She was like a level-headed person.
I mean, you could say the same thing about Hulk as well. I mean,
Well, Hulk just used to beat the shit out of people. That's about it.
yeah, no, but I mean, I see. No one's ever going to be able to change my mind on this. I think Edward Norton is the Hulk. Edward Norton's
Honestly,
Hulk.
he's a really good Hulk. He's a really good Hulk.
And the only
That
reason,
first guy, Eric Bana, I didn't like him too much.
no, yeah,
Edward Norton was really good.
Edward Norton went to Marvel and went to Kevin Feige. At least is what I remember hearing at one point, and was like, "This is what I have as an idea for what we can do for Hulk." Because this is when like the Incredible Hulk was like it was Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, and then the rest of the MCU. Like that was the actual timeline, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I have an idea for what we can do for Hulk. We can do this, we can do that, we can do this, we can do that. And like Kevin Feige basically said, no, Hulk isn't a priority.
And here's the thing: Marvel hasn't had Hulk as a priority since maybe the animated movies.
And the whole thing was like, because Eric Bana wanted to do, I mean, Eric Bana, Jesus Christ. Brains all over the place now. Edward Norton wanted to do World War Hulk. He wanted to do a full-on World War Hulk movie. And like set it up in one of the other movies and then do a full World War Hulk movie.
Mm.
And like he had that set up, and it was a little bit darker for the Hulk than what they had, because of course, I mean, fuck, he tries to kill himself at the end of the goddamn movie, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, Kevin Feige basically said no, and then they were like, "This is what your pay is going to be for Avengers," and he kind of was like, "You're fucking with me, right? Like this is how much I'm getting," and they're like, "Yeah, you're not a priority." And he said,
Once again,
he said no.
it's a lot of mismanagement from Disney and Marvel's standpoint
Oh,
when
100%.
it comes to their movies.
I
Which is why I don't like the fact that the movies are getting more popular than the comics, because the comics have suffered because of the popularity of the movies.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the most recent comics that they've done for them, the new line that they pushed out, right? Well, we had Negative Zero or something like that, a vampire. We had a kid that inhaled his granddad's internet gas, and now he can access the internet and meme the internet, sort of thing. We basically have Dora the Explorer, who's it's a big girl with a backpack, and she can pull out whatever she wants from it. And then we have Snowflake and what the hell was the other fucking one?
Snowflake and Safe Place. We do not talk about that because it's such a stupid move to do, because it's like, okay, I understand you want to take back those names because people have put them into a bad state, but don't use them. Are you dumb?
Well, my thing is this: is like who is the people that you're saying? Let's take these words back. who are these people?
I don't know. I
like
don't
like
know.
I see
Like
that.
just like okay, listen, like a safe place. Okay, if people need a safe place. Okay, snowflake. People call each other snowflakes, and it's just like, yo, like just it's dumb because snowflake is whatever. I don't like snow anyways, but it's the
And
things
just
where you're just like, yo, just leave those alone. Just ignore people who use stuff like that because they want to like
they want to use them for
marginalize you
degrading.
because you want to
Yes.
be in a safe. Yeah, just
And instead they're like, no, we're gonna take these things and make them positive. And it's like immediately people are like, God, you guys are stupid. But like
yeah,
but like this is
yeah.
my thing though that I'm talking like with what you were saying though, with leaving the comic side of it alone, right? Is Marvel's put so much time and effort now into the MCU that they have let
Exactly, yeah.
they have let the comics divulge so much to this state. Meanwhile, you look at what DC has done on the other hand, and we've had the Dark Knight series where we have the negative or the dark multiverse with all the different evil Batmans. We have
With
the
the death metal
yep, we have the
series and
yep,
everything.
we have the Batman who laughs. We have
Great run by the way. That's a really good
Dawnbreaker.
run.
Yeah, we have that. We have Future State, which is the brand new thing that they've just put out, which is wild. We just had Tim Fox meeting Bruce Wayne for the first time,
Yo,
and then
that
basically,
has my favorite Green Lantern of maybe all time in that.
oh, I mean, it's like it's you looking at it, it's like these guys are like it's respecting the past, but also like moving forward. Like, and it's one of those things, like, and people, a lot of people have been like, oh, well, I don't like this. This isn't what you should do. And it's one of those things where it's like, that's why there was the Justice Society of America. And you have a
Hmm.
certain group of characters there. Like, we don't see Our Man in the main continuity a whole lot. We don't see Stargirl a whole lot in the main continuity a lot. It's because those are the older characters. Now we have the main set. We've gone through the story arcs that we have. Now we need to look forward once again. And I think they've done it in a very niche new way. Obviously, I haven't fully read it because I'm a little bit behind on stuff. But from what I've seen, I think it's cool. The only thing that pisses me off is there's not a whole lot of Aquaman stuff.
Yeah. Totally get that.
Um,
Well, once again, Aquaman is also one of those DC characters to where people, the fans like Aquaman, but
mhm.
the mainline people, the mainstream people, don't
It's
like Aquaman. They think he's stupid.
it's the thing that people don't realize that in a 1v1 fight, Aquaman versus Superman, Aquaman wins. And people don't understand that because his trident is magic, therefore he can kill Superman with it.
Right.
You know, like it's little things like that. You know, it's like the whole like, oh well, he just talks to fish. You know, it's like
No, he has super
no,
strength.
like
He
that's
has
like
almost flight. I mean, come on.
there's a lot. There's a lot to it that just people just kind of oh yeah, okay, he's just a fish boy, and I can't like that's one of the reasons why I want Namor to come out is because I immediately want to see how the fans react to bikini wearing little wings on the ankle battle cry Namor.
Well, the only reason he looks like that is because he's a mutant.
I
But
don't care.
they need
It's
to
like,
introduce the mutants first. So let's
like
see.
I just
Let's see.
you know what I mean though. Like I want to see it because it's the same thing though, right? Namor is, in my opinion, Namor's a lamer version than Aquaman.
I mean, he is. I hate Namor too. Don't worry about it.
So like my thing is it's like I want it to come out because I want to see how much, because I can see it now. The fanboys are going to be like, he's the greatest thing. This is awesome. This is so much better than, and it's like shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up with your little
Honestly,
winged feet, bikini wearing fucking
most of
superhero.
the
Get the fuck
Marvel
out of
fans
here.
also hate Namor, but only because Namor's actually just a big jerk
Yeah.
himself. So it's
Um.
because like you have Aquaman, who's a good person, and then you have Namor, who sucks.
Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things I was going to say earlier when we were talking about how we got into comics. One of the things that I think that I liked about the Aquaman story is that he is from two worlds, so he's always conflicted, right?
Right. Do I go
And
back to being a full-time mermaid, or do I do go to be a full-time human?
exactly.
I don't know which one.
And that was kind of one of the things that when I left college, I was kind of in a little bit of a weird state like that because I went from having all my college friends, not regularly having a lot of friends here, and the people that I was hanging around with here were either my parents or the coaches from the high school when I was coaching, and they were my coaches. So that was awkward for me being, kind of like almost being buddy with my coaches from 5 years ago. So I kind of was in that weird kind of space between the two, So like that was one of the things that I kind of connected with a little bit. Was just kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
that
yeah.
feeling of like I don't know where I belong, sort of thing.
Right, yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Aquaman has always had like that two worlds type of space, and it's
hmm.
always been a good storyline when it comes to Aquaman.
So
Also,
now,
Aquaman, his kids, his wife, and everything.
oh
That's a great storyline.
so now, of course, because we have to bring it up. It's been an hour. We haven't brought it up. The
Oh
Snyder
boy,
Cut. They dropped the
Snyder Cut looks good.
They dropped the
Looks
trailer
good.
today. Holy shit! It was a lot more than I thought it was going to be. And this is
Oh
one of
yeah,
the things.
definitely.
This is one of the things that I saw online. I've seen a few people, and you can tell they're not DC fans. Oh, they've shown too much.
They haven't shown enough.
And I'm like, motherfucker. I was like, look, this is a 2 minute. This is a 2 minute and 40 second trailer. This movie is 4 hours long. If you think they've shown too much, the door is over there. You are more than welcome to leave. Like, I was shocked at seeing it, like, seeing how you could tell the scenes that were Zack's when you watch the movie, right? The first one, the as people are call it now, the Justice League movie, right? You can tell the
Because of Whedon.
scenes, yeah, because of Whedon. You can
Okay.
tell the scenes in the movie though that is Zack's, and in the
Mhm.
trailers they showed those scenes. And it was kind of cool seeing that because it was like Zack has even said that like the 25%, 30% of his movie is there in the original. The rest of it didn't get used. And you could kind of see that from a lot of the trailer stuff now. But the fact that we just saw Darkseid, we saw Desaad, we saw Granny Goodness, we got our first look at
Mhm.
Apocalypse. We've now seen that there are two types of parademons. They give us a little bit more on the war that happened, on the ancient war, that apparently in the movie is going to be a 25-minute history lesson. That I'm fucking excited about. Wonder Woman, new scenes. They showed a bunch of Nightmare new scenes. They showed the new Joker look. The fact that the Joker says this is a society. Oh no, we live
That
in a
was that
society.
was that was the part where I was just like, you what? Come on. Come on. Really?
I mean,
Oh.
so the fact of him saying that was like, I didn't get it at first because I was just so fucking stunned with the whole thing, right? But then afterwards, right, I'm sitting
Mhm.
there and I'm like, if you listen to what he fully says, it's kind of like, holy shit, you
Yeah,
know?
because it's in that it's in that Batman premonition.
Well,
And by the way he's talking about it, it's like, ooh, this is
I'm
interesting.
trying to see if I can find it now, but basically he says like this is a society, and then basically about like how this is how mayhem, this is what happens when mayhem happens, and like, isn't that right, Batman? I was fucking, I thought he was gonna say, isn't that right, Bruce? I fucking thought he was gonna say it, and I'm sitting
I
there
mean, it
like,
would make sense in that type of premonition too, especially if it's that type of time period. Yeah, it
if
would
it's the
make
yeah, if
sense
it's
that
the
he would knew
nightmares.
exactly who.
Well, and that's the thing. Yeah, if it's the nightmare sequence, like, there's no point in hiding it anymore. Kind of, like,
Yeah,
um. But yeah, no, like, just seeing that though, it's like, oh, it's just like, it's the people out there who said like this is, um, oh, it's the same movie. There's just a few things different. It's like, no,
no, this
no,
movie looks real different.
no. This movie, and I was talking to Xander about it, and I said, look, I was like, this movie was supposed to come out a month before Infinity War, the original one. And I was like, can you imagine what would have fucking happened if this movie came out before Infinity War?
Uh, it would have been an entire comic book war, and I would have been like, "Listen, both movies are good. I'm not doing anything else about it. I'm not saying anything else about it.
Right? It, I saw that and I was
I'm
just
just
like,
staying
oh
out
my
of it."
god.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just staying out of it. Yeah.
But no, I'm fucking excited. I'm glad that they're bringing back. I mean, a lot of the most recent stuff that's been coming out about Joss Whedon, didn't know about it, and now that I'm hearing about it, it's like, this dude's a fucking scumbag.
Oh, dude, once again, we did knew about this, which is why they stopped letting him do Marvel movies.
When that's right, it's like, it's like, but now like you're hearing the more and more and more of it. Like, apparently he was like, he would
And
joke around.
Buffy, yeah.
Well, like, so on the set of Justice League, he was joking around about how Zack's cut sucked and about how, like, oh, it sucks that he isn't here because his daughter killed herself. Like, that sort of thing.
Oh shit!
And
I didn't
like,
hear about that. That's fucked up.
and like he was degrading the actors. So a lot of the scenes in the Justice League movie, if you go and watch them, Wonder Woman is wearing a scarf. Now, do you know why she's wearing a scarf?
No.
Because it's a body double. It's not actually Gal. Because Gal told him to go fuck himself with a lot of the scenes that they wanted to do.
Wow.
So he told Gal, fine then, go home. And like they just got a body double, and that's why you see the scarf there, because then they can just put her head on top of the character, basically.
That's crazy.
Because like the scene of Flash running into her and like having his head on her chest, like that sort of thing, that she was like, I'm not doing it.
I mean, that makes sense though.
Exactly. I mean, and it's one of those things where it's like a bunch of people, of course, the very first thing that happened with the whole Ray Fisher coming out thing was like, oh yeah, well, Ray got upset because they wanted him to say booyah. And I'm sitting there like, one.
No, that's definitely not the real reason.
Yeah, no, I'm sitting there like, one, that's just stupid. I was like, if you think that, that's stupid. And then, of course, recently people have asked Zack Snyder, like, hey, does he say booyah in your cut? And he's like, of course he fucking doesn't say booyah. And then recently, like, now people are like coming out and being like, let's see, in the movie, they show about how he lost his mother. He just barely got to become the cyborg that he is. In the movie, his father is going to die in front of him. And he's part Apocalyptic now because of the cyborg side of him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's get him to say booyah at one point, right? Like, it's like, when you start thinking about it like that, it's like, yeah, he wouldn't say it in this movie if he, like, yeah, maybe later.
He would say it in the Flash movie if they weren't being, idiots about that.
The only thing that I thought would be kind of funny to see if he did do it, because of course they're having some football scenes in there because in the comics and everything he's a football player before he got hurt.
Right.
I would have thought it would have been cool if he did it after a touchdown. Like he scores a touchdown, throws the football down, booyah, like that sort of thing. I was like, that would be kind of cool.
Make so much sense.
Because it's a throw at that point. It's a line that means something, and it's a throwaway line at the same time. But yeah, no, I'm excited. I can't wait. Apparently, as well, this is the other thing. You ready for this? So the movie comes out in the 18th of March. We're getting another trailer in March to start March off. Apparently, we're getting the final trailer.
Okay.
I'm saying it right now.
I can just see the excitement on your face. You're so excited.
I've said it to a bunch of my friends. I'm saying it right now here on stream. I'm watching it once a week. I don't give a fuck. Once a week. I'm putting 4 hours. Wow. I'm putting 4 hours aside once a week to watch this fucking movie, and I'm gonna show it. I think I might do a screening of it in Discord as well. That was another thing I was thinking about doing for people. So if people want to see it, I'll have it set up so like if you're subbed to the channel, you can come and watch it, like that sort of thing. But yeah, no, I'm excited, and the funny thing is there's a lot of people saying like, oh yeah, there's not going to be any continuation after this. And it's one of those things.
I mean, honestly, it kind of isn't, especially after the whole Ray Fisher thing and everything, which sucks.
Well, so this is my thing. Is let me look up something real quick. Okay. The restoration costs around $70 million to complete the visual effects, score, and editing, with the new material for the cut being filmed for Zack Snyder's Justice League. So now this is my question to you. Do you put $70 million into finishing one movie that flopped the first time and not have a continuation plan?
Yes.
Because my thing is no.
Well, I say no because you would think, but WB has a bunch of money to blow.
Oh, of course they do, but then the other thing is this is so Ben is going to be in Ezra Miller's Flash, and it's not so they can get rid of him. He's going to be in it because he's part of the main story arc, right? They're kind of doing a Iron Man, Spider-Man, but a little bit less with Ben and Flash, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like Ben already is like in a future movie. So like Zack's movies are still continuing. Each one of the movies that have happened are still in this universe. Where apparently, rumor has it, getting the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad as well.
Okay.
And that is going to be apparently that's the tone wise drastically different. Like there's more Joker scenes, Harley and Deadshot hook up in it. Diablo doesn't die. Enchantress isn't being controlled by like she isn't wanting to destroy the world and because with her brother and those weird eye goblins. Instead it's parademons and she's being controlled by Steppenwolf because that was how they originally were going to introduce Steppenwolf to everyone.
Interesting.
And it was a mother box that she was trying to open. So there's a lot of things that Snyder's universe was setting up that they terminated, that now the rumors and everything are coming out about like this is what it was supposed to be. And I think, in my opinion, I think the Snyder Cut coming out is the first of these walls to fall down, and it's only going to continue falling from there. And I think within the next 3 years, we're going to get a Ben Affleck either HBO movie with him, Jared Leto's Joker, and Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke, or a series on HBO Max.
I mean, honestly, I would love for that to happen. Now, let's see what oh God. Let's see what happens next. I can only guess what they're going to do. I have no idea what they're going to do. I don't know if there's any type of continuations. Right, I know the Flash movie is going to come out, so at least we're going to continue with Flash.
Yeah,
and maybe with the Flash movie, it's going to
So we have the movies we know we are having is we have Aquaman 2.
Right. Oh yeah, Aquaman 2.
We have the third Wonder Woman movie because they're already pushing that ahead of schedule. They're pushing it up.
Okay.
Shazam 2. Black
I'm
Adam.
excited about Shazam 2.
And Flash.
Okay.
And the Suicide Squad as well. That one's another one. Forgot about that.
Right.
So those are all the
that
movies.
An HBO only movie, or does that actually come to theaters?
So all of the movies, and this is one of the things I think HBO Max did a poor job of, or HBO, AT&T, Warner Brothers did a poor job of saying, these movies are still coming out in theaters. It's just not a full release in theaters.
Okay.
It's in like select theaters. But it's one of those things, though, where like, and I said this before, and I've seen a lot of people say like, "Oh, it's bad for movies, it's bad for cinema, blah 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 blah," right? Like that sort of thing. So for me personally, I only go to the theaters to go watch DC movies.
Okay.
That's it. And the reason why I do that is because the theater that I go to, I get food at said theater, and it's like big reclining seats and all this, right? So I only go like once a year, twice a year tops, right? But now this is my thing though, is that like if I go to HBO Max right now, I'm trying to see if I can find the movie that just came out because I was gonna watch it today, but then I did as I was saying to you earlier, I did a bunch of editing instead. Where the fuck is it? Okay, so it's not on the what's new for HBO Max list, even though it is new.
Okay.
So like Judas and the Black Messiah, that's on there. I wouldn't have seen that in theaters. In theaters and on HBO Max streaming through March 14th. I wouldn't have gone and seen that in theaters, but I can watch it right now. Right? And that's one that's what I'm going to watch. The Little Things. That's the movie. The Little Things. Another one. It was in theaters. I wasn't going to go watch it in theaters, but now I can watch it from home. So why wouldn't I? Right? And that's my thing, is that like I think that this is the way that it's going to be for the future of cinema. And I think it's a positive for the future of cinema. Because it makes sense. Because if I'm paying $20 a month to watch these movies, right? Or I pay $20 to the theater, how much did they actually get from the theater for me paying that $20?
Not much.
From the streaming service, they get all $20 of it.
Right.
So even if it is, one of those things where it's like it's just me myself, $20, over a freaking full year, that's what, $240. You can tell I haven't done math in a while. Yep, $240, right? Just from me myself. Okay, so 240. So now let's just do that by a million, right? Just a million subs, right? $240 million.
Right. That's a lot, actually. It's
Right?
a lot more than I thought, actually.
So now the question is, how many people have HBO Max? Let's just type that into here. So right now, HBO Max closed the third quarter at 8.6 million active subscribers. Okay, and has added another 4 million to reach 12.6 as early as December. So if we go 6 times 240, that's $3 billion just from HBO Max.
Yeah, they really don't need a movie theater that much anymore. Shoot.
Like it's one of those things, like they still have the theater. It's just that, especially in this day and age. Charles, would you like to go to the theater to go watch Wonder Woman 84, or would you like to watch it from the comfort of your home and pay the same amount of money?
Comfort of my home, please. Comfort of my home. Shoot, there's free food here. Fuck that.
Right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like I think it makes sense. And apparently that was the other thing, is that because of them releasing Wonder Woman 84 and that being the first big name movie, as I said, they added another 4 million subs in December. That's when the movie came out. They saw the numbers of active users skyrocket right before Wonder Woman 84. So it's one of those things, like they're still getting that money. It's still gonna happen. And it's one of those things where, in my opinion, they jumped the curb and they just said, yeah, we're doing this. And of course, everyone's like, oh, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. And you look at how much money all these other companies are making right now with it, and it's like they're not doing well. And now it's like, do they jump on the bandwagon and do it themselves? And if they do, are they going to get praise or are they going to get hated?
Well, I don't know, man, because the whole movie and HBO Max and like Disney Plus and like all that stuff, it's so confusing. I try not to get into it, and instead I just enjoy what I enjoy.
Well, let's get into something that is a little bit easier then. Conventions. How about that for a transition? You like that?
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah,
I see what you did there.
Right, given those
conventions.
Ooh, okay, so what sort of conventions? I will say this right now. I've yet to go to a convention. What sort of conventions have you been to?
I've been to 3 type of conventions. Okay. I've been to a comic book convention. I've been to an anime convention, and I've been to a music and game convention, which is MagFest.
Okay. So what? Because of course, I see conventions, and of course, the main ones that come to my mind is like San Diego Comic-Con,
right?
Then of course, you got New York Comic-Con, BlizzCon, and TwitchCon. Course, yeah. Those are the main ones that I see and have heard of since my time of getting into this world. I think that's the best way of putting it.
So with those are more comic book oriented. Mm-hmm. With the exception of Twitch, of course. TwitchCon is just like, you go there because your favorite streamers are there. Twitch will talk about some of the new stuff that's going on with the website and with, the streaming services. BlizzCon is, of course, just all about Blizzard games.
Yeah.
I think the difference is with some of these other ones. So the main anime convention I went to was Katsucon over here to where I live in the National Harbor.
Okay.
That is purely just all anime. Like, it's people coming in as their favorite anime characters. You'll see like there are certain panels on certain anime. You can watch anime there. You can play anime type games there. It's all anime. Like, that's what it's purely all about. And then you have MagFest, which is the party one. That's the one to where it's all around the country.
One.
It's all around the country.
Okay.
Every one of them is just a big party. I mean, there's still a bunch of stuff that they have in there, and it's like that's the mixed bag one because it's music, D&D, card games, video games, old school video games. I'm talking like arcade cabinet video games.
Okay.
It's a mixed bag of just like everything, as well as like indie games and stuff. Like a lot of the indie games that I've played, like Dead Souls, One Step to Eden, even Hades, they were all started in MagFest. They all went there to show off the game.
Nice.
So there's that one, and then of course the normal comic book conventions. I went to the local ones, so I didn't go to any of the big ones. I just went to like a local one.
Which of course, I mean, it's a little easier for you to go to a local one than me in Vermont than you know where you are. So, that's a little bit different as well. There is a Vermont Comic Con, but every time I look at it the last few years to go to it, because my dad's like, "Hey, we should, if you want, we can go to this, like that sort of thing." And I'll look at it, and I'm just like, "Oh, cool! Look, they have the third extra backup for a show that I watched when I was 7."
Oh, that's the other thing. There's a lot of
like I see that, I'm just
voice actors that come over to this stuff. Yeah, I forget about that. I'm not big on it, but
totally that's the thing is like
about that.
the one in Vermont is just like it's completely not even like like I said, it's like it's literally just like, oh, this dude is like a third extra in like 4 episodes of Buffy. And like
some people really love Buffy.
Well, like I see that and I'm like, nah, like I'm good. Like, I don't need to go see that, pops. Like,
What was it when we went to MagFest? The first time I ever went to MagFest, I actually got to meet half the cast of Overwatch.
Oh, that's awesome.
I got to meet Lucio. I got to meet Symmetra. And I had like a whole conversation with Symmetra. It was crazy.
The voice actors for Symmetra and Sombra are fucking awesome. I follow them on Instagram, and I fucking love them.
Yeah.
I love the fact that the voice actor for Reinhardt is the voice actor for Revenant, by the way. That's one of my favorite little, like, did you know sort of things. Because it's
so crazy how it's just like two completely
drastically different. I was like, oh, catchphrase to I'm gonna kill you. It's like
it's like death is my job. I'm just like, what? That Reinhardt who's just like, haha, to the rescue.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's
a lot of knocking.
Oh, you can hear that knocking too, huh? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Don't care either. But yeah, no, it's that's cool. Now, one of the main conventions that I'd like to go to if they have it again is TwitchCon. I think that'd be kind of cool.
So my friend went to TwitchCon. She loved it. It was incredible. She got to meet all of her friends. She also got to meet a lot of the top Twitch streamers because they're all there. I think they're all there either meeting their audience or going for panels, learning all the new stuff that Twitch is probably going to roll out. So that's honestly one of the places I also want to go to, just so I can see what it's like over there. But the first convention I ever went to was Kasukan, which was it wasn't Kasukan, it's Otakon. Otakon, that was in DC. It was in the DC Convention Center. Usually that convention is in Baltimore's Convention Center, but the year I went, they moved it. It's a huge difference too, because it went from a small, dinky little convention area to like one of the biggest convention areas in the country.
Okay.
And that whole entire thing was an anime convention. Granted, you see video game characters there, of course, but it was mostly anime convention. So the whole thing with conventions is there's a day 0 to day 3. Day 0 is either the Wednesday or the Thursday that you come in. It's usually Thursday. Sometimes it would be a Wednesday, just so people can get like settled in.
Josh Jamoto, thank you for the raid of 7 people. Appreciate it. Hope you had a great stream.
Hey, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, welcome. Talking about conventions we've been to.
But yeah, no, so you walk in and the first thing you see is just like, you know, the many people. I'm talking like it's wall to wall with just people, just like either in costume or like in their favorite anime shirts, just like walking around. You're just like, the first thing that happens is that you definitely just get overwhelmed a bit because there's so many people and it's like, you know, so many signs that show you where to go, either like Artist Alley or to the arcade or to like where panels are. You're just like, I don't know where to go. What do I do? I finally noticed to where it's just like that first day, just do whatever you want. Just roam around. Because you're gonna find some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And then once you get like used to that first day, then you start like figuring out where you want to go. Like if you want to go to any panels, if you see anything that you know you're interested in, go to some of these panels. And then you know, because there's always an arcade, you can always play games with like people, you know, meet people in the arcade and everything. And then you can also go to Artist Alley. Artist Alley is like one of the coolest places because you get to meet so many new artists who like, you know, have oh God, what's the word? Products that like, you know, homemade, you know, they do it themselves and it's like of the stuff that you usually like. So if you want like that poster of that like character you want, but you don't want it from like, you know, the official store, but you want it made by somebody who has a really good art style, you can just go to Artist Alley and get it done. That's how I got like most of my charms. That's how I got most of the posters that I have. I just go straight to Artist Alley.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then across from Artist Alley is like it's like the actual like store like places to where you can get the official stuff.
Okay.
Where like you can get the official manga or the official figures and stuff.
So it's interesting that you were saying like, you know, like kind of like the first day you're kind of walking around and it's like holy shit, you know, like a lot going on, right? I started thinking about it and it isn't technically a convention, but there are I guess it is a convention. Like I'm trying to think of the word that we used for it. But like it was a coaching clinic. That's what it was.
I was gonna call it a conference.
Yeah, it was conference clinic. Like you know, I've been to plenty of those before.
Okay.
And now that I started thinking about it, as you were just going through, like what it was like for the one there that you went to, it's very similar. You know, like coaching conference clinic, however you want to word it. Like you go in the first day. Sometimes, like whenever we used to get in the first day, and there would be people like doing night ones, but we wouldn't go to them. We'd start the following day.
Okay.
Right. And it'd be like wake up at 7. You go to the first meeting at 8. The meeting lasts from 8 till 12. You have from 12 to 1 off, and then from 1 till like 4 is the next one. Then you have like an hour, maybe 2 for dinner, and then there's the night conference. Then there's the night one, and there's like 7 to 10 different people each hour talking about drastically different things. Like you know, one of the ones that I went to was it was a D-line coach from God, I can't think of where it was now. I know for a fact I listened to the D-line coach for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Which one?
Oh man, I can't think of his name. It was one of the older guys. This was a couple years back.
Okay.
But I went and listened to him, and this is back when I used to chew and everything. So, had a coffee, had a spitter, sitting in the back, just kind of like feet up on it, like on a chair in front of me. You know, like all right, let's listen and let's hear what this guy has to say. And for the 4 hours, he just talked about like stories, right, that he had. Like players doing this, players doing that, players doing this, players doing that, and I'm like, this is fucking cool. Like he's talking about like professional players, like using first name basis, like head coaches, you know, like how he told a head coach to go fuck himself, like that sort of thing, just different shit like this, right?
Right.
And
yeah.
I'm like, this dude's fucking awesome, and I'm, you know, and it's like, and you're just learning a little bit, right? At the end of it, he's like, does anyone have any questions? And some dude in the front fucking row raises his hand, and he's like, "You haven't really taught us anything. You've just been telling us stories. Can you actually like tell us something we can use?"
Oh my god.
And like I'm sitting there in the back, and I just taken fucking chew out, and I heard that, and I reached over and I fucking put a new one in because I'm like, this is gonna get fucking good. And like it was the funniest thing, just because it's like you see this guy and he's he's an older guy, and it's like, but this dude could easily kick the shit out of everyone there. And he's like, it's fucking simple to play D line in the NFL. You take your hands and you try to reach into the guy's fucking spine and you rip the fucking thing out. That's the target. And if that doesn't work, you take your hands, you put them together, and you fucking throw them into their throat. If they can't breathe, they can't block you. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, this dude's fucking aggressive, but I mean, he has a point. Like,
one, that definitely sounds like an Eagles coach. Two, that sounds awesome to listen to.
Oh my! Like some of them, it was like some of the coaches. It was really funny because like you could tell that they were like either like grad assistants there because they were talking, try to act very proper and all this. And then you'd have like I had a guy that was like a wide receiver coach for Clemson talking about like certain pass concepts. So he was talking about shallow concepts versus shallow flood, like a bunch of concepts that he likes basically. And we were supposed to have the offensive coordinator for the Clemson Tigers, and instead we get the wide receivers coach. And you could tell that this guy wasn't utilized the way that he wanted to be utilized within the program, based off of how he was talking.
I'm guessing he was giving y'all like the whole 9 yards.
Oh, he's like, well, when I was running offense for da 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 da, we used to do this, and this shit used to work perfectly, and now at Clemson we do this, and this guy here, he could have been a great player if he listened to me. And I'm saying that like, oh, for fuck's sake, just shut the fuck up, guy. But then, like I said, yeah, then you get some coaches that are just straight up just like, look, this simple. Like, you don't overthink it. Treat your players right. Tell them the fucking truth. Like, don't be a dickhead. If you are a dickhead, you better stay in dickhead mode, because if you switch too much, they're gonna know you that. And it was kind of cool seeing that. But yeah, no, it's funny though, just from you saying about conferences and everything, or the clinic, and the way it is kind of the first day of like kind of the panic of like, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go. The first time I went to one, I was like full of panic mode.
Dude, that honestly sounds like a convention, because with the convention, like, you're just overwhelmed because it's just a huge area. There's so many people, you don't even know who to interact with. You don't even know if like, hey, that person over there has the same like interests as I do, but I don't know if I want to talk to that person yet.
Mm-hmm.
So that first day you get there, you just roam around, do whatever. That second day, you actually figure out what you want to look at. Like, if you want to look at, hey, they're talking about this type of anime, or then they're talking about manga and how people draw manga, or you have the one that I went to, which was a comedy show. Okay. So it was a comedy show just about like the way anime fans are. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. Like, it's always a little bit of something for everyone at these conventions, right? And that was just the anime convention. MagFest, I have to talk about MagFest, because MagFest, as I said, is the party one.
Yeah.
MagFest has such a broad reach because there's so many panels to where you could just think about something off the top of your head. Like something that deals with like music or video games.
Whiskey.
There's probably a whiskey convention, a whiskey panel.
All right, now let's just say,
there's something similar to it. There's a sake.
There we go. Yeah.
To where they talk about alcohol and how it's made, and if you're old enough, you can even try it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So like, there's always a little bit of something that these conventions have, like for like anyone. I think there was even like a sports anime panel.
Oh, that's fucking cool.
To where they were talking about, I know I can figure out one that you'll probably like. iShield 21. iShield 21 is a football anime. American football anime. And people were talking about, well, we use like these teams in order to like get the plays right. We used we watched like these teams, or we watched these football players specifically when we animated the anime. And it was like, wow. Cool. Yeah, exactly. So there's always a little bit of something. Like, anime conventions are huge. MagFest is just like, hey, listen, you like music? All right, cool. Here's the rock music panel. Here's the rap panel. Here's the lo-fi panel. Here's the heavy metal panel. Here's the rave that we have.
Is the rave just built in? I mean, yeah, I mean, like
Yeah.
it isn't like to this like so for instance, when I went to the coaching one, the head coach had already chosen who we were supposed to go to.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that's who he wanted us to go to. I only was there with him he was only there for 3 years when I was coaching. After he left, then it was just kind of up for grabs. You could go to whoever the fuck you wanted, sort of thing. Um, but like, yeah, there's sometimes where like you would go in to listen to a guy, and like I went in to listen to a guy, and he's like, okay, so when you take your first step, you want to be here, and then you want to take a step like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. When we're going right, we're going like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. And he goes, okay, and then we were also going right. We want to go like this. If we want to go for a side reach, right? So we want to go here. Right, the step is like this.
Okay.
It's like this. It's not like this. It's like this. It's not like this. It's like this. I got up and left like immediately. I was like, "Get the fuck out of here! I'm not listening to that shit anymore." Because he did it right, and then he started doing it left side, and I'm like, "Nope, I'm good. Peace out, dude. Like, I know how to fucking take my first step. I don't need you fucking spending the first 10 minutes of this 4-hour course telling me how to take my first step. Like, nah." But then like there's some of them where you go in and it's like, okay, I'm gonna literally just teach you this one pass concept. And like I've seen people just
Right.
get up and
Yeah.
leave, and then he's like, "Okay, so this is how you do it. This," and then he's like, "Okay, now we're gonna watch film." And then he goes on and he's showing like film of like the college, like the D1 college at, it's like here it is. And then he goes, "Okay, now these are all the different iterations of it that you can run." And immediately at that point, you're like, "Wait, what?" Because like for instance, flood. Most of the time, flood is a 3-person concept. Is to like most of the time people run it to the play side, right, the wide side of the field. The furthest guy away runs a vertical. The inside guy runs an out. The closest guy to the line of scrimmage, the third man, runs to the flats. And what it's made for is it's a 3-person read, and it's all on one side of the field. You're flooding that side of the field. So the way that I taught it was touchdown, first down, check down. So that's what the quarterback reads is he's rolling out to that side. He looks for the touchdown.
Okay.
If the touchdown's not there, then you look for the first down. First down's not there, you look for the check down.
Okay. Yeah.
Every coach teaches it a little bit differently. That's how I used to teach it when I was the OC. And it was interesting because like he was doing it and he's saying like, yeah, so he's like, you can do that. And he's like, also you can do like where you invert it, where the inside guy runs this, the outside guy runs this, and the third guy runs this. So you just have the same route concepts, but different people are running them, and you can switch them around, and you can do it like this. And this is how you do it on the short side of the field. This is how you do it with only 2 people. This is how you do it with 2 people and a back. This is how you do it with motion. And like he's just going through all this, and I'm sitting there like, I could have assumed and guessed a lot of this, but him going over it, it was kind of mind blowing because it's like one concept of just a vertical and out and a flat, and here's 50 different ways to do it.
Right.
It's the same. It's the same
you
fucking
really
thing.
start to learn like new things, even though it's like in the same concept.
Exactly. It's the exact same thing. It's just that there's multiple different ways to do it. So it's one of those things where it's like that was kind of cool learning from a bunch of different guys like that. And like one of them was going over like how he was I think it was a guy who was the head coach of the Giants for a little bit. For a couple seasons. This is like he's an older coach, really old coach.
It's not Tom Coughlin, is it?
No, it was before that. It's like well before that.
Okay.
Let me see if I can look. I mean, I could be 100% wrong and have it wrong, and it isn't a head coach for the Giants. Team. Let's see here. Now none of these names look familiar. Because maybe it wasn't the head coach. Anyway, I know he's a prominent coach for the Giants. So it may have been an OC. May have been one of these head coaches, and I'm just not thinking about it right because it's been a while.
Okay.
But anyways, he's like going over like this is what it was like as when I was the da-da-da of the Giants, and I was just doing this and I was doing that, and we used to do this, and you'd get up at this time. You always get up at this time. You build this into the regiment. This is how you do it. You don't step on the grass. When you come into the field, you better not step on that fucking grass. You go down the footpath, you don't touch the grass. As soon as you touch the grass, you better be running because the grass is the field. You always run on the field. Like building those little things into people. And it was really kind of cool reading that and seeing that and going over that. And it's little things like that you would never have thought of, right?
Right.
But MagCon sounds fucking wild.
Yeah, MagFest has the
MagFest,
other
sorry.
thing. No, you're good. has the other thing to where like it's also to where you actually make friends.
Okay.
Like with the other conventions, it's always weird to like interact with other people because just know it's a new place. It's it's a little bit primer, I should say.
Oh, primer.
At MacFest, everyone's just drunk. People will just come up to you, be like, "Hey, man, how you doing? Hey, I like your shirt, man. You a big fan of the?" It's almost like a party feel, but it also makes you comfortable
Okay.
sometimes. Now, granted, a lot of these conventions you will feel uncomfortable. Just know in mind, you will feel uncomfortable, especially if you're a lady. Yeah, you're gonna feel real uncomfortable. Which is why I always, even as a guy, you gotta maybe go with a couple of friends. Like if you know that some of your friends are gonna be there, make sure you beeline to them when you first get there. Because sometimes people do get a little creepy, but at the same time, a lot of people are like in good spirits and are just like not creepy, but actually like just excited to see new people and meet new people.
Well,
Which is why it's always like cool to meet friends at these conventions because the next year you're going to see that same person. They're going to be back, and it's still going to be the point where it's just like, yeah, okay, yeah, we here, yeah.
Like that was one of the things is like because now like I'm now in the second year of coaching, right? I mean not coaching. Jesus, my brain is fucking fried today, man. I'm sorry.
It's all good, bro. It's all good.
This is second year streaming, right? So the first year was like TwitchCon was coming up, and I remember me and my buddy Nick, Boobo Black Ops. He's also a streamer. Doesn't stream as much as he used to, but he's the one that me and him started at the same time. And the first year there, or year zero, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, when we first started, he was like, "Hey, do you want to go to TwitchCon?" And I'm like, "Dude, look, like we just started doing this shit, man. Like I don't know if I'm gonna be doing this in like 3 months, like a year. Like nah, I ain't going to no fucking TwitchCon. Like what the fuck is that? You know." And then of course, so like the year goes on, I get more into it. I know what the fuck's going on. It's like I kind of want to go to TwitchCon this next year, And then of course, as everyone knows, 2020 happened, and we didn't get TwitchCon, so it was like fuck, all right, But like that's one of the ones that I do want to go to. TwitchCon, San Diego Comic Con is of course that's the one I want to go to. I was never gonna be able to go to it though. I know I won't.
The one I want to go to is the New York Comic Con because New York
I
Comic Con.
would like to go to New York as well.
It's 6 hours away, but that's 6 hours compared to like the 24 hours to get over to San Diego.
Well, like my thing with like San Diego is one, I know I'm not gonna be able to get a ticket. Right.
Right. Yeah, they sell out like the first 3 seconds.
And then it's like okay, even if I do get a ticket, now I have to get a plane, a hotel room,
right?
Figure out where the fuck I'm going.
Expensive California is,
and it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, the majority of the time, my savings doesn't look that good. My savings is normally like $100 most of the time. So it's like I'm sitting there looking at it, and it's like, okay, let's just do some basic math, And it's like fucking calculating it all up, and it's like, okay, so this is gonna cost me $5,000.
Cool.
Like that sort of thing, right? It's like.
And this is why I like going to local conventions. This is exactly the reason why I like going to local conventions. And even there are some conventions that are like in other states, like there's Colossal Con East. It's another anime-like convention, but it's in the summer. It's in a resort, and it's mostly just pool time.
Okay.
But the resort is kind of expensive. But since I live in the East Coast, I can just drive there.
Yeah.
I don't have to like take a plane. I can just get a normal hotel room, and it's not that bad. Or you can just get the hotel room in the resort. Granted, you have to maybe see if you can get a room there because it's always hard getting a room.
Yeah.
Which goes to my next thing about MacFest. If you're going to MacFest and you want to stay at the Gaylord Hotel in the National Harbor, better get there early because all those rooms will be gone.
And I guess, and that's my it's like I would love to go to some of these big name conventions, but with how I am, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to. Like, I would love to, like I said, TwitchCon, I might be able to fucking pull off at some point. But other than that, man, I would love to be able to go to New York. I'd love to be able to go to San Diego. I just don't think it's going to happen. I would love to. I'd vlog the shit out of that.
If anything, here's the thing: if I can get your wifey to come down to the National Harbor for MacFest, I'm gonna try to see if I can get you to come down too.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would love that. I would love that. You know, and like
Because half the times we didn't even need to go to the convention. We can just hang out around
I was gonna say
the National Harbor because that's even cooler.
yeah, I was gonna say at one point I remember I was talking with Coop and I said to him about something like that, like yeah, it's like I just at one point I want to just come down there and just I want to I just want well, it's been a year I haven't like physically seen her, but yet I talk to her every fucking day. It's like I want to see her, right, like that sort of thing. And Coop immediately is like, well, you better get ready to see me, Charles, and everyone else then, because you ain't fucking leaving here without seeing any of us, you mother, like that sort of thing.
Well, yeah,
and I'm like, I'm sitting there, and I'm like, of course I'm not gonna fucking like avoid seeing, yes, I'm gonna avoid seeing all of you. But yet somehow you guys are all not gonna be able to see my millions of posts of me, like, look who I'm with,
I mean that's how I inadvertently met Coop too, because of my friends that I met from conventions. Because like
really?
a lot
That's
of the
funny.
friends that I have from conventions, like I've known them from like middle school and stuff, but like, we got out of touch. Like my friend Nash, who also streams, I haven't seen him in years. And one day I went to a convention, I saw him, and I was like, I know who I'm hanging out with. He was always fun in middle school. I'm definitely hanging out with that man.
That's
Sure
funny.
enough, still the same man. And sure enough, and hanging out with him back at his house, Coop came over, and I was just like, yo, this dude's awesome. And that's how we became friends.
That's fucking cool. I mean, like that's kind of one of the tough ones for me. With a little bit of backstory for me is because like I grew up in England, and then I moved here, and like I kind of made friends, but then as soon as I went to college, it was one of those things where it was like this is what friends are, you know?
Okay, yeah.
Because it's like it was one of those things where it's like, for instance, John. John was my roommate for 4 years, or technically 3 years, but we count the first year kind of because we were always fucking around each other, always around. So, but like I knew him for 4 years. We lived together, we ate together, we played football together, we went to fucking workouts at fucking 6 in the morning, 4 in the morning. We had workouts at fucking 7 at night. Bled together. Like that sort of stuff. Just
Right,
there.
yeah.
It's a little bit. It's like it really is like a brother thing because it's one of those things where like you don't get to choose these friends. You show up and they're like, oh hey, this is your team, this is your brothers, and it's one of those things where it's like okay, and it's like this dude's kind of cool, and it's like you make friends with them, but then it's one of those things where it's like you see him like once a week if that, whereas it's like Jeff was my guard and my tight end at one point. He lived down the hall from me, and I saw him every single day,
Right.
for like
okay, yeah.
7 hours a day.
Right, yeah. That's like me and my boy Kenny. I've seen him. We went to the same elementary school, middle school, high school, community college at first. So like we've been around each other for like almost 2 decades. So.
Yeah, so for me going from like moving from England to here and then going straight to college, like these guys became like my close friends. So it was one of those things where like I like what you were saying, it's like you meet these different guys and everything. So like for me it's funny because like of course I'm getting in streaming doing all this, these guys are still learning about this stuff, right?
Right.
So it's kind of it's fun seeing them kind of getting into it and everything. I don't know where I was going now with all that.
Well, the thing is because it's the conventions. You meet certain people.
There it is, yeah.
And now with you, because you meet certain people. Because like with streaming, you meet a whole bunch of people. Like I would have never met you if I wasn't streaming.
And it's funny as well because like I look at like how I've met people, right? Just in general from streaming.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's like I met some people through like Nick meeting people, and then like a lot of it, and this is the funny part, is a lot of it is from me meeting Lauren.
Okay, yeah.
So I met Lauren. Lauren introduced me to Bandit, Ri-Fi, Xander, Wally, and then from there, I met like Corbell, Josh, who raided a little bit ago, Red, Telly, and then in Xander's, and then in Xander's chat, that's how I met Dana.
Right. Yeah.
And then from Dana, I met Coop, Jagger, you, like, and it's like, so it's just kind of, it's funny just seeing how, like, you meet one person, and then from that one person, there's 5. And then from those 5, there's like 2 or 3 from that. And then from those ones, there's like 1 or 2. And then there's one where there's like 5. And then,
And that whole thing, that's the one thing about conventions that's the coolest, because you meet so many people and you make these connections,
Hmm.
and that's how you start making like this community almost.
Yeah.
It's like this community of friends that you make at these conventions, because it's just like, hey, I like that person. I know this person. He knows that person. Okay, I'm cool with that person too, and they also know that person. It's like a whole, almost like a family tree almost.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
There
that's
we go.
kind of like why a lot of people like conventions so much, because you can make those
Hmm.
connections.
And like, I mean, like, if it's, I know it's one of those things. Like, if I was in your area, yeah, I would be going to a ton of conventions. The fact that I'm up
Right, yeah.
here and there's,
Yeah, up in, that area. Yeah, it's rough because it's
yeah,
one,
was like
pandemic, and then two, it's a brick to get down here.
well, like, and I've said it before. It's like I'm 45 minutes from the Canadian border and 30 minutes from the closest Walmart. Like, it's, and so this is the thing, right? So, like you just said, 45 minutes from the Canadian border, and I'm 30 minutes from the closest Walmart that's in the next state over. It's not
That's
even
crazy,
it's not even in my
yo.
state. It's in the next state over. So it's like I'm like in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
but all right. Well, let's wrap this up with the final segment of the night, as we just talked about the wifey. She came up with this segment back last year when she was on, and that is my life as a.
Oh yes, as a food service worker, which I am.
There we go, a food service worker. This is a completely brand new thing. So, food service worker. Tell us about it.
So, food service worker, specifically my brand of food service worker, I work in the school system. I work in the school system as a cafeteria worker.
Okay.
So, my usual day, before the pandemic, I should say, is that I would wake up.
Hmm.
It would be about 7 in the morning. I wake up, go to work. First of all, wash your hands, make sure you're clean. Go to the front, get my register set up, and I would serve breakfast to the kids.
Okay.
Kids will come in at around 8, 10. All of them just rush in, and they all go straight to the breakfast line. You tell them what's for breakfast. They'll go get it. They'll come up to me. I'll check them out. They'll go back to class, and then once that's over, once all at least 800-900 kids are done, getting breakfast, then you're starting the prep work.
Okay.
Now, prepping with me, I usually prep the fruit. So I have to prep the canned fruit, or I prep the fresh fruit.
Hmm.
So you have all of this going on, and you're just like, okay, that's done. So once that's done, you then go help with the actual cooking. Sometimes I will go and help cooking, but only because we are shorthanded sometimes.
Okay.
Other times I would just go and get ready for the lunch shift to start. Like, go wash dishes, make sure everything's clean, make sure everything's wiped down. Once lunch starts, it's just, let me see, 3 hours of just balls to the wall, just like kids coming in and out, trying to get food, making sure that they have enough money for food, making sure that, they have the right portions of food, making sure that, they don't mess around in line,
Mm.
because you're kind of like that person that tells them, hey, stop messing around in line. But you're also that same person that also makes sure, hey, you doing all right. You're also kind of like that, not father figure, but almost like a brother figure.
Okay.
Because like with me, I'm like the youngest in my in the whole kitchen.
Mm.
I'm like the youngest, and I'm 26 going on 27.
Yeah.
And these kids are, 11 to 13. So I kind of feel like the big brother almost. So,
Hmm.
if you see that they look, a little, look a little off, you go up to them. Hey, man, you good? Everything's going all right?
Yeah.
You can't really, engage too much, but you just make sure that they're all right.
Yeah. You can. Yeah. You
You're
can
kind
even.
of
Yeah.
also like you're kind of like not a guidance counselor, but just like an administrator almost, like making
Mm.
sure that they're all right, making sure that, they stay in line. Stay in line,
In
in the
line.
line. I know it's phrase. But so then once all the lunches is done, you do your side work. Usually what the side work is for me, you wash all the trays and wash all the dishes that you use for the day.
Mm.
And then after you do that, you shut down the dish room, you wipe down all the areas, you make sure that all the temperatures are done for the coolers, for the fridges, for the freezers, and then you clock out, go home, do whatever. Next thing you know, it's 7 o'clock the next day.
Damn.
It's time to do it all over
So
again.
you're less like the lunch lady from the Adam Sandler song and more like Chef from South Park. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So
Good morning,
so
children.
my so my whole thing to getting into this
Mhm.
mostly was because um one, I got into the working game real late in life.
Okay.
With me, I didn't get my first job till I was about 20.
Okay.
And so when I turned 20, I got hired at a restaurant, Boston's Gourmet Pizza.
Oh. Okay.
And I started off as a host. And I did pretty good as a host. And it was to the point to where I was also doing curbside orders.
Okay.
And I would get the whole screen done easy and quick. And they were like, hey, you got a little bit of skill right there. And so once I turned 21, because once you turn 21, not only can you serve beer, you can also taste it, so you can also recommend stuff.
Mhm.
So then they were like, you know what? Hey, you're 21. You're doing really good here. We're gonna make you a server. So I was a server a couple of months of being a host, and I was a server for like the rest of the year. Now, granted, the only reason I left was because the management was getting a little bit crazy.
Okay.
They would schedule people wrong. They would kind of like berate some of the workers.
Oh.
Now, granted, they wouldn't do that to me because I guess I was a good worker. I did what I was supposed to do, and I went home.
Mhm.
But like with some of the other people there, it was just like, yo, like y'all putting so much work on them, and I'm trying to help, but y'all just like, no, you don't help them. You do your work. They're gonna do it themselves. It's like, yo, but they look like they could need some help.
Yeah, it
And so I
looks
just
like
didn't like the way that they were managing. So I was just like, yo, I'm out. I'm out of here.
Okay.
So then I always wanted to be in the school system because I didn't
Mhm.
know what I wanted to do for like the longest time.
Yeah.
Never knew what I wanted to do for the longest time. So it was just like, oh man, what do I do in my life? And so there was one day I'm at home. Of course, I had no job. I'm basically living off my savings. And my mom was like, hey, they have a sub work for food service for the cafeteria. And I was like, bet, say less. Went straight to my laptop, put in an application. And the funniest thing, I was at a convention. I was at Otakon when they told me that I got the job.
That's awesome.
So they were like, hey, you know what? Everything looks all right. You got the job. So you'll start subbing. Orientation is in like a couple months. And I was like, all right, cool. So I get to orientation, everything goes fine. I get to my first school. My first school is literally my elementary school.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so and the craziest thing, it's right down the street.
Oh,
Literally,
even yeah, bet.
I walk to work
Yeah.
every day.
That,
Even when I worked at the restaurant, it was like 15 minutes away by walking.
oh,
So I
then yeah.
walked to walk to work. But this, it was like 5 minutes. It was not even 4 minutes just to get to the school. And it was like, yes, this is great.
Yeah, bet. That's awesome.
And so I worked there. Unfortunately, they let me go from that school
Mhm.
because I was it wasn't like, because I'm a sub, so I could go to every school. But since I was so close to that school and they needed workers, I was just designated to go to that school.
Oh, okay, yeah. So they just kind of
But
they like
also,
yeah.
yeah, so it was like, but I also had to go to college for during this time.
Mm,
This was like my last semester at the community college.
yeah.
And so they got another full-time worker. So it was just like, well, we don't need you here. So you're gonna have to, go back to the calling system to where they'll call you up if you need a job or something. Or if you need work or something. I was like, all right, cool, bet. I don't need to be here anyways, because I didn't really like the manager either. She wouldn't listen to people. It was either her way or no way. So then I got a call from another school, elementary school, to where my mom worked at, and I started working there.
Mhm.
And it was sporadic, but I got so many life lessons out of that manager, and the workers there were always so nice. And the teachers knew me because I basically volunteer there all the time with my mother,
Oh, okay.
because she would need help, because she would have just huge classes sometimes, so she would
Mhm.
always need help. I would go there after school, and so a lot of teachers knew me, so I just had a great time there. And then, but it was sporadic, it wasn't like, every day. It was like, oh, you go there like maybe twice a week or maybe one time a week. And then, now the school that I work at right now, there, one of the ladies there got hurt. She had a concussion. She had fell and slipped on some ice.
Damn.
And so they were like, "Hey, we need you for about 2 weeks." I'm thinking, bet, say less. That's 2 weeks full of work. That's money.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so, and then so I was there for the 2 weeks, and then at the end of the 2 weeks, she was like, "Hey, they're probably gonna like need her to be off for a little bit longer. So do you mind being here for the rest of the month?" I was like, "Say less.
So
Rest
that's
of the month? That's every day of working."
yeah, and that's also that's nice as well because it's one of those things where it's like you show up, obviously you're doing good work, right? You show up, you're
Yeah,
doing good work. It's like, all right, cool, yeah. Oh, you need me for 2 weeks straight? Awesome. I'm gonna show these guys just how good I am. Like that's what
exactly.
like
Yeah,
boom, the 2 weeks are up and it's like, hey, you know what? We may need you for like another month. It's like, all right, no problem. It's like, yeah, this is exactly what it need to be. You know. Now,
and and so now after that month was up, they were just like, "Hey, you know what, Charles, you do really good work here. Just stay here for the rest of the year."
boom.
So I knew exactly what we were getting to, and that's exactly what
Yeah.
happened.
That's kind of so that's how it was with me working with my dad. My dad is the general manager for a body jewelry company, and I worked on and off in high school there, just doing random shit. And then when I got back from college, it was like, cool, I need to find a job. So I applied to a bunch of places. None of them wanted to hire me because my field was athletic training, sports medicine,
Right.
and all the things I was applying for were just like manual labor shit. And all of them were like, "Nah, this doesn't fit your like what your degree is." And I'm like, I need a job. Like I don't give a fuck. Like I'm trying to get into like UPS, just like shoveling the fucking boxes off of the truck, and they're like, "No, it's like your stuff here is for like like a medic at UPS sort of thing." I was like, "That's not what I want to do. I just want to move the fucking boxes." You know. So eventually, my dad's like, "Why don't you just come fucking work for us?" And I was like, "All right." So I would go in like 2 or 3 times a week, and that slowly turned into a full week at a time. Then it turned into a month. And then it's like, hey, we need you to just do shipping with us now. And it's like, okay, you're starting to take over shipping by yourself. We're gonna get you an assistant. And then it's like 2 years later, it's like, cool, you're on salary. We're getting rid of all your assistants. It's just gonna be you. It's like, all right, let's do this. It's like, yeah,
That's exactly how like it went with me and working in the school cafeteria too.
that's awesome.
Yeah, like last year, before the pandemic hit, like actually like a month before the pandemic hit, they actually made me contracted. So now I'm also salary right now.
Ooh, that's nice.
So and the craziest thing was like with this job, not only am I getting salary, I'm also getting health insurance, I'm getting dental,
Oh, that's what's up.
and I get life insurance. So it's like, and I was
When
about to get kicked off my parents' insurance anyway. So it was like
it
this is
works,
actually
yeah,
so helpful.
it works well for you. And like the cool thing as well, I assume anyway, you've
Mhm.
probably looked into it, is like there's probably a structure, right? For like you start here, then the next position is kind of here, then the next position is here,
Mhm.
then the
Yeah,
next.
exactly.
So that's kind of a cool thing as well because like as long as you just don't fuck up, you can just kind of slowly climb up that, and
Mhm.
eventually, it's like it may not
I
be
could basically maybe run my own school maybe one day.
exactly, it may not be what you wanted to do when you were or what you dreamed of doing, but if you just slowly get there, then yeah, like you just said, the next thing you're running the district or you're running the school, like that sort of thing. For that
And
sort of
like I never thought about this type of work either. But once I started working and once I started enjoying it,
hmm
I was like, yo, maybe this could just be a career for me. Like,
yeah,
cause I really enjoy doing this. Like the cooking isn't even that hard. It's normal prepping and then putting everything in the oven after you prep it, and then
hmm
make sure proper cooling, make sure proper heating, and hey, that's it. It's 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 fulfilling because not only do you get to do a job that's fun, you also get to see the kids who enjoy the food that you make.
yeah,
And then you also get to interact with these kids and make sure they're okay. And they look up to you. And that's the thing that why I wanted to be in the school system was because, a lot of these kids don't have that figure to look up to
hmm
sometimes.
yeah,
And so, I always wanted to be like, hey, listen, anything you need, you can just come talk to me.
hmm
Cause I've always had that type of help myself because, I've always hated school.
yeah,
But I've always had that one teacher, that one guidance counselor, that
hmm
one like librarian or someone that I could just talk to. And that's what I wanted to do for these kids as well.
yeah. I mean, that's awesome. That's great. You know, that's awesome to hear because that's kind of how I was when I was coaching.
Right.
I
Okay.
was more of the like I guess the way you'd put it is like this like the player coach. Um, like the kids could tell the difference in my voice, like when I'm being serious, when I'm fucking around, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
could tell,
Exactly.
and if they couldn't tell, they learned very quickly. Um, and you know, I don't ever really talk about why I got let go and everything, but that's kind of one of the reasons why is because I was like that with a lot of kids. So I just created a lot of very weird situations at points.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was just very honest with a lot of the kids, and I was honest with parents, I was honest with kids, you know, and I had no problem with just saying like, look, you fucking suck. What do I do to get better? Stop sucking. Like you're a lineman, hit that dude. You know, it's like they barely hit him. It's like I've seen old women hit better than that. Like, can you please like hit this bag? This isn't even a person; it's just a bag, dude. Like, fucking hit the bag, you know. And just like you know, so I like it's one of those things that were like yeah, like you know, like you were saying with like having some of these kids where they don't have a like you know kind of a role model or someone to look up to. Um, it's always really nice when you do have that kid that will like come to you, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and be like hey, like you know, can I talk to you for a moment about something? You know, like I have one kid still, Gibby. Um, he's like I was talking to him at one point, and he's like, I don't know if I want to go to college anymore. I was like, why? What's up? And he's like, I don't know, like coach. I just you know he still fucking calls me coach. It's like a year out of a year out. I'm no longer a coach. Still calls me coach. You know. And he's like, I don't know, coach. Like I don't think college is for me. And I'm like, all right. So what do you want to do? He's like, I kind of want to go to trade school. I was like, then go to fucking trade school.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with
And he's like, well, I don't know, like what my parents or what these people would think, or. And I was like, nah. I was like, fuck all that. What do you want to do? And he's like, I don't want to be.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I don't want to be in college anymore. I want to be in trade school. I want to be doing this. And I was like, then I back you 100%. You need any help? Let me know, and you fucking do it. And if people say anything, you tell them, look, that isn't what I want to do. This is what I want to do, and you fucking do it. And like last year, I think halfway through the year, I got a message from him like, hey, I just finished trade school.
Dude, that's awesome.
You know, and
That
it's
is
like, you
awesome.
know, seeing shit like that, or like getting random messages from like some like different kids. Like one of them, a kid JJ. He was my first quarterback. Coached him all the way through high school, and then he went to a Division III college in Maine. And I went to one game a year, every year. Didn't matter. I found a way to do it. I went to one game a fucking year, and I made sure to do it because I made him a
Wow.
promise I fucking would. You know, that kid every year, every other month, every 3 months, always make sure he always sends me a message. Coach, how you doing?
See, that's the type of stuff that really like makes a difference in someone else's. You know?
Exactly, and that's one of the things that like you know was you saying that that's awesome. I love hearing that. I love hearing when you know it's like because it's one of those things where you know like for instance for me you know I had had a good growing up. I had my mom and dad. Haven't really ever had any real problems, you know. And it's one of those things where it's like, there's a lot of times where, like, yes, someone will come to me and be like, look, coach, like, my mom and dad are broken up, like, this and that, like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't even know what the fuck to do, you know. I wouldn't imagine what to think of that situation, you know.
Right, yeah,
But
but
just
the
being
only thing you have
there
to be is like, yeah, exactly.
so they can, like, just vent it out a little bit, you know, it's so, like, anytime you can do that for anyone, especially, you know, fucking generations we have now is fucking huge. You know, so I applaud you for that. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. You say being a coach. I technically I am a coach myself too, and I don't know how I got in this situation.
oh yeah.
Um, some of the kids, cause my what was it last year, 2019, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
The eighth graders that I've had them for 3 years by that time, so I've
Mm-hmm.
knew them since sixth grade to eighth grade.
All right.
So they knew me. They knew that I didn't play around. They also knew that there were times where I would play around.
Mm-hmm.
They had just started a baseball team at the middle school. And so they were like, hey, do you think you can come to the games? It'd be awesome to see you at the games. And I was like, dude, I will come to every game.
Yeah.
I got nothing else to do when I go home.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the games. And then one of the actual coaches were like, hey, you know what? We only have like two coaches here. do you want to help out? I was like, yeah, sure. I got nothing else to do. It's like, all right, cool. That's your third coach right there, kids. And I know almost nothing about baseball. I know how it works. I know how I know certain things.
Yeah.
But you know what? When they told me basically, hey, this is what we want you to do, and I did that, and sure enough, I became a coach.
There we go. You know, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. The one thing that I will say is, never think that you know it all, because you never
Oh
do.
yeah, no.
That's
Yeah, no.
the big thing. Just because I will say it from experience that I've had. I've worked with coaches who have been like, "Nah, I know what I'm doing," and I'm like, "No, you don't." And it's like, that's not how we do it. And it's like, nah, I know what I'm doing. Trust me. And it's like, all right, I trust you. You know, it's like, go ahead, go do your thing. And then like a game rolls around and we get fucking steamrolled, and I'm looking at him just like, you knew what we were doing, huh? Like, it's just and it's one of those things. Like, for instance, Scratchy, right? Scratchy, Rob.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
He's a head coach of a high school in New Hampshire. And I still, every year, he says probably 4 to 5 things that I sit there, I have no idea what it was. He teaches me it, like, I go over it with him, and I fully learn something brand new.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of those things. It's like, and it's sometimes it's just people do things differently, a little bit differently. So like his wording for things is a little different than my wording, but it's just learning the difference between them and why you do the different, like why he does it like that versus why I did it. So, and it's one of those things. Just don't stop learning, man. Just
Yeah.
I don't know what it is you're doing for baseball, because I don't fucking understand baseball.
Honestly, I'm just helping them with the warm ups and helping them basically just get together when it comes to so like some of the plays and everything.
Yeah.
I starting to understand it because we have like an actual baseball coach who coaches the baseball team for the high school that's near our middle school.
Yeah.
So there's at least that. So I just do whatever he tells me, and then if I do see something, I'm just like, hey, coach, and I'll tell him maybe like, yeah, you right.
Yeah.
Tries to help out and everything.
Yeah. I mean, I would say like at least like once a month, once every 2 weeks sort of thing. Just look up something new. Like, hey, look it up. Find some coaching stuff, read it up, learn about it, and it's just one of those things. It's like, you never know, out of nowhere you can be like, "Hey, coach, I was reading this thing about like dynamic warm up versus static warm up." So like if we did it like this versus doing it like this, then it's actually a little bit better for the So like, can we try that out this week? And like just little stuff like that, can sometimes be huge. But yeah, no, man.
Yeah, no. So
Yeah,
that's go ahead.
I was gonna say, man, it's awesome. Hearing what you do. It's always I always find it awesome, talking to the guest about what they do, because it's always interesting seeing what everyone does. Because it's amazing seeing the different all the different fields of stuff. Working in the food industry, head coach football team. Working for a place that makes tampons was one of my buddies. Working for school supplies. Just where different people have worked and what they're doing. The restaurant business, it's like, it's always interesting talking about that stuff and seeing just kind of like what it is, kind of from the inside eyes. I don't think a lot of people really get to do that.
Right.
So, but no, man, I thank you for coming on the podcast. I know I kind of just randomly hit you up with it.
Hey, no problem. I mean, this was like real fun to do, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like told you I wasn't gonna hit you with anything difficult.
No, this is all easy stuff.
Yeah,
Definitely.
So now to end the stream, what is your opinion on life and death?
Life is great. I'm scared of death. Like if anything, I can actually be a little bit real. Death is the one thing that actually scares me. I'm not good with that. Like, I don't know. Like, granted, you believe in whatever. I believe like in heaven and hell. I don't know where I'm going sometimes. But at the one thing I do know is that I'm trying to live life to the best that I can. I also try to live life to where I want to help everyone. I want to do good. I want to do good not because it's going to get me to a better place. I do good because it's the right thing to do.
Okay. Well, and I'll also do I'll also hit on this as well. Getting real. I'm scared of death, but not dying.
Okay.
I'm scared of death as the fact of I don't want to die alone.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of it's one of those things. It's a tough one to talk about at times, just because it can't get to me, because it's really a tough.
Mm.
It's a tough one for me to talk about in general. But like I wake up at 5 in the morning, go to work at 6, work 6 to 9, come home, stream, and then get off stream at some point, and I'll either go back to work or I just edit and kind of try to relax, and then I go to bed. That's my day almost every day. I could almost go a full week without seeing physically another person.
Ooh.
I'm alone, like I'm literally alone. Even just like on mics, even just talking on mics, because I don't consider that being like with people. I'm
Right.
alone 90% of the time every week. This is one of those things where it's like I'm used to it, but at the same time, it like there's times when it can get a little bit over, not overbearing, but like too much. Like I could be there's been plenty of moments where I've been in like a crowded room and I feel fucking like I'm by myself. There's no one there. It's just me. And shit like that hits. And so it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not afraid to die because it's gonna happen eventually. But I am afraid to go by myself. Overwhelming. That is a good word there, Smokey. Overwhelming. So that's kind of my one. Is that I don't want to die alone. Because it's one of those things where I've had this talk recently with another person, a little bit different topic, but like it's in the town that I'm in, I don't have many real in-person friends. I moved here from England, so I had 5 years because I came here in 8th grade, right? So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, yeah. So I had 5 years.
Right. Okay.
Most of the high school friends I have, let's see, I had 2 main high school friends. One of them is dead because he committed suicide. And the other one I rarely talk to because we got in a huge fight at one point. And I don't really see him that much anymore. So it's one of those things where really the only 2 people here are my mom and dad. And I had a friend recently tell me that I had to make a promise with them that I wouldn't do anything stupid once they're gone. Because like that's kind of how it is here. It's not good, but I'm okay. Let's just put it like that. I'm okay.
All right.
Get to taking it from a fucking fun time to that fucking moment. Yeah, no, I'm okay. But yeah, no, that's my big one. Is I'm not afraid of dying. I know dying is gonna happen. I know eventually I will die. So I don't really worry too much about it. The worrying more is of the I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to go. I don't want to have that like you have like a month to live sort of thing, and it's just me. Like that's my thing with it. Damn man, I made like a stupid joke and it just turned into something that almost got me fucking tearing up. Jesus fucking
boy.
Christ. Like I said, thank you, Charles, for coming on.
Yeah, listen, I'm glad that we had a lot of fun and we had some real talk. At the end, it's kind of it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's always good to have those type of emotions because it's it's the way life goes.
Yeah, it's like John Martin was a I don't want to say Welsh, but I feel like I'm wrong with that. It might be Irish, but it's one of the two. Blues singer, and he said singing the blues is cathartic, and sometimes it is just nice to just kind of not nice, but it's cathartic. It's good to kind of get to that kind of vulnerable, emotional. Like this is something that it is on my mind. I do think about it, and it is scary to a point.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes it's good to talk about that stuff as much as you don't want to, and
Mhm.
it's probably not good to hear.
Right. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
he still needs to be said at points. But is there anything else you would like to say?
Um. Other than go follow your boy Big 75 Husky 75. I mean, other than that, got nothing else.
Well, I'll be making sure to put a link to your Twitter and to your Twitch in the comments down below. For everyone out there,
Hey,
it's
bless you.
Charles Robin, as it says right above me, is Charles Robin Jr. At Twitch. Thank you, like I said, thank you yet again for coming on. I do appreciate it. We will probably have you on again at some point. I think it would be
Hey, love you,
funny.
bro.
I think it'd be funny to get you and like maybe Coop together and just see what sort of madness happens. Maybe get like you Coop Jagger, you Jagger, someone like get a few people on here and just let this thing fucking get wild for a little bit.
I know for a fact if you put me and Coop in here, it's just going to be the same mind, different voices.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it because I'm just gonna start saying stupid shit the whole time. Um, we're gonna go for an hour on why the radioactive semen thing is the best thing that's happened to Spider-Man, and I'm just gonna sit back and watch you two just fucking lose it. But yeah, like I said, thank you. For everyone out there for stopping by and hanging out, I appreciate you. Josh, thank you for the raid. You know what? I'm even gonna throw a fucking thing in there for Josh as well. I'll put his Twitch in there too. Good guy. But that is the end of the podcast this week. Thank you for all stopping by. What was your guys' favorite moment? What is your guys' feelings on life and death? How about you hit that in the comments down below, depending on where you are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Stay out of trouble, stay safe, and we will talk to you guys later. Bye.